Microphone. No camera. All right, so over here is just this right here. Oh, wait a second. It is recording. Pause. The whole point is to make a recommend the commissioners to prepare the budget, and we're going to make recommendations to the executive committee and then to the full delegation. So the first item is to pledge allegiance to the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now a moment of silence to especially remember those who passed, like one of our colleagues in Concord, Reverend Sharon Nordgren.
And one of my 46-year employee.
Oh, okay.
He passed within the last couple of weeks.
And my mother, who passed on a month ago today, actually, but it seems very recent. So
She was the longest serving county employee.
okay, thanks.
Yeah, no, I agree.
And so we'll now do the roll call. I'll make it the acting clerk and
Bixby,
we don't know.
Granger, Oregon,
That's me, and I'm here.
Kaczynski, Penny, Levesque, Cecilia Rich. Yeah. Jeffrey Rich. That's it.
2 out of 10. I don't think we need a quorum to make the recommendation. I think the other way.
No.
So
We have not in the past.
yes. Oh, yeah, we usually don't. So it's the people who are going to be here. Red Bauer, obviously here. Anna Tilber,
Diane Legere, our finance director,
Yes.
is here.
and
Doug McCain, maintenance director.
okay,
Steve Burke, Trafford County Sheriff's.
okay.
Joe McGivern, Sheriff's Office.
Yeah.
Or that Easter Seal.
Oh, okay, great. So just the first. First up is the Meals on Wheels at Stratford Nutrition, and so they've asked for. How much was it? I guess they'll tell us what they're asking. All right. Thank
Hi,
you.
good morning.
Oh, he's still muted. You can see him, but he's muted.
Well, he just unmuted.
Okay.
Yes, good morning. Sorry about that.
You got it.
President Bixby is here.
Yes. We'll go to the other door.
Oh, this one. Hello.
Come on now.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you.
He's still.
Yes, sir.
Chris, can you say something one more time? I just want to see if I put your audio out to the owl.
Sure, good morning.
All right, thank you.
Doesn't sound like the owl scene.
Okay.
We're starting to get the mechanics going or.
We haven't barely, we pledged allegiance to the flag and we picked the role, we'll add you to us, there's 3 of us.
Okay.
Which page is the resources?
The
Yes, I did.
No, let's put that on the table.
Nice.
Thank you. I did know. I thought I prepared.
I'll put it there. Please mix it up with cover.
That's page.
Sorry, I probably should have put them in the order that they are.
Oh, no, that's good. Well, I guess we'll start with Meals on Wheels in Stratford County. So in 2023, we asked them, we gave you $42,000 and
I guess you're asking for a similar amount this year, so, I guess, tell me about your program and, so.
Thank you. Thank you for this opportunity. Our executive director, Jamie Shagnon, is on medical leave, so I'm helping her out. I'm a member of the board. Our agency takes on many clients in our Stratford County area. We do receive state funding, we do receive local donations, and we have a really important duty. We are sometimes, for some people, the only person who checks in on the person. For some people, that's their only home cooked, or so to speak, home cooked meal, because we do try to use fresh meals. We do frozen when necessary, but it is mostly fresh meals. And we were looking for another $42,000 this year. You'll see that in the financial side of things, we do spend more money than we do receive in. We don't turn any of our clients that have those needs away. We really feel that that's very important. And also, we also are spending a little bit more because the last couple of years we've really had to spend a little bit more on pay and compensation. We are still paying our folks a little under $10 an hour, so we do struggle with getting a full head count, but we do try our best with what we have.
Okay, great, thank you, Ed. I guess I'll open the floor to questions from the committee. On the right first one, is this what I know the passive service is also valuable, because a lot of people might have to go to the Riverside Rest Home or similar facility if they didn't have Meals on Wheels person coming in and checking up on them and bringing them the food and all the other things that go along with that. So I guess, yes, I guess.
I think between here and what used to be homemakers are the two key sources at keeping people at home.
Yeah.
You know, rather than needing nursing home placement. I also want to reach out and let Meals on Wheels know that if for some reason there's a need as the year progresses for something greater than what you've asked for, because you have an unexpected surge in clients, as we've offered, reach out to us. And we can work with the executive committee, the delegation, to try and find, you know, some extra funds to be sure you have an adequate amount, because we, like you, don't want to see anybody not served.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, so just to clarify, the total funding request is 42,000?
Yes.
Okay, so that sounds like a relatively small amount for a relatively large service.
Yeah.
It's what they asked for, so
Yeah.
you know, we've we funded that amount and always assure usually the executive director that if for some reason by year's end, you know, they run themselves short, we would, you know, go back to the executive committee, because we don't have the authority just to change that amount, and try and allocate money from another source. You know, we have a small amount of money that is uncommitted. I think it's only about $5,000 or so, but you know, it's important to try and keep people at home as much as possible. That's where people want to be, and that's where we want them to be, and it's not easy to get into a Riverside or any place at this point. So if we can keep them at home, that's what we need to be focused on.
Yeah. Thank you. All right, thank you. Thanks. Yeah, I guess well, thanks for your time, Mr. Maxwell. So
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
let's get back to providing, you're getting those meals out there at Wheels, providing to people. So
You got it.
You take care, Chris, huh?
Take care, Ray. Thank you very much.
Person is Easter Seal, who'd like her.
Yep, should I come up here?
Please, please.
With the bacon and the pancakes? and-
Yeah, that's right. Help yourself. Please help yourself.
Thank you so much.
Another extremely valuable partner to us.
Oh, yes.
In helping keep people at home.
Yes.
Thanks, Ray. Thank you. I wrote some things down so I wouldn't forget, but good morning, everyone. Thank you for this opportunity. Appreciate it. My name is Laurie Duff.
Yeah.
And I'm the Director of Senior Services at Easter Seals. I've been with Easter Seals about 27 years, longer than I've been anywhere. So, in Stratford County, our older adult services include our adult day program in Rochester, day out program, our homemaking services, our personal care services, our LNA services, and our nursing services in the home. In 2023, we served 1,161 individuals. Of that, 300 were Stratford County residents, so about 26%. That equals about 52,000 hours, and it costs about 3,300 per person in Stratford County for us to help individuals remain in their home. We provided last year over 385,000 in uncompensated care to Stratford County clients in 2023. We serve residents in 12 of the communities in Stratford County. Our oldest is 102. The funding ask that we are seeking does not include the variety of services that we also provide in this county, such as our military and veteran services, our services for individuals with intellectual and developmental needs, and our clinical counseling and more. We're proud to say with your support and vision, we received our occupancy permit and have begun moving residents into Champlain Place in Rochester. That is 65 unit low income housing for older adults. My colleagues and I cleared out our schedules on a particular day to help individuals move into that facility. And we met some incredible residents with a lot of stories of, it's the first time I've had a place of my own, to it's the first time I'm sleeping in my own bed and not a couch after 20 years. So many other stories. So look for your open house invitation coming in the spring for that. So we would love to have you come over if you haven't already.
Okay.
So we take our jobs very seriously and are proud to say that by using evidence research-based tools that we are able to show the following positive outcomes of participants in our adult day program. 86% of our participants have shown a reduction in loneliness. 78% have shown a decrease of falls risk. 94% have demonstrated a reduction in the presence of depression. And 33% have shown cognitive improvement.
Yeah.
So we are testing people when they enter into our program and every 90 days thereafter to ensure that the efficacy of our programs are making an impact on the people that we are serving. In our home care program, 99.4% would recommend Easter Seals to others. 96% say that their overall quality of life has improved. And while their loved one is under our care, family caregivers are reporting less stress, an ability to tend to other responsibilities, and a decrease in missing work due to an issue with their loved one. So as much support and services that we give to individuals, for every individual, sometimes there's also 3 or 4 family members behind them as well, sometimes none. So we are beginning to turn the corner with our home care staffing challenges. We received some ARPA funding from the state, and that has enabled us to immediately adjust our employees' salaries. Legislation approved rate adjustments for providers as well, Medicaid, and this will enable us to serve more individuals in need in Stratford County. We are also restarting discussions regarding the Champlain House, which is where we had our adult day program had to move temporarily so that the Champlain Place could be built. And we've received some support from Senator Shaheen's office for the upgrades necessary in that building. So we're excited about that. The funds that we are seeking today will be used to provide care for low-income seniors whose cost of service is not reimbursable through insurance or other funding streams. We're seeking 80,000 to support the continuation of these vital services. It's our greatest desire to continue this 40-year history of helping Stafford County older adults continue to live in their community safely and with assisted independence, to minimize unnecessary emergency room visits and hospitalizations and premature nursing home placement. So thank you for this consideration.
Oh, right.
Just one thing, it's a high-class agency. I mean, they're, you know, statistic gathering, their, the surveys that they take makes it real easy for the commissioners to recommend their full request for funding. They're right on the stick, and they're really a high-class agency, and as you can tell from the presentation. So I just wanted to say that from the commissioner's perspective.
And there's just with like their whole like very detailed financial report for the whole organization.
It's excellent.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
What I took away from that is that you're a well-organized organization on sound financial basis.
We try.
Yeah.
So,
Could
you give me a little bit, or give us a little bit more of a sense of what the residential program of the Champlain House is? What's the target group that's assisting and?
Sure. The adult day program itself at Champlain House.
Okay, so you said there were also apartments where.
Yes, there's Champlain Place, and that is the new 65 unit for 62 and over. There are, I think, 6 2-bedroom homes, and the rest are all 1-bedroom homes. Due to a variety of different funding sources, such as federal and veterans and vouchers and that sort of thing. It is a sanctioned low-income housing, and it's beautiful. A lot of folks are coming. Due to the funding application, we have to take a certain number of veterans, a certain number of people who are at risk for homelessness, and people that are in certain ranges of income.
Okay, yeah.
So that's that place. And then, so that's Champlain Place, and then Champlain House is where the offices, as well as the adult day, the offices for our home care program, as well as the adult day itself has been housed for many, many years. We had to temporarily move that site, but the individuals that were housed there, in order to make room for the roads and all of that for Champlain Place. So we're in temporary space, which is an old Frisbee surgery center on Healthcare Drive. And the folks that come to spend a day with us have everything from various degrees of memory impairment to a stroke or developmental disability, kind of something that might be inhibiting or adding to their social isolation, or adding to a concern for a caregiver and having them be left alone during the day.
So the Champlain Place is really targeted at reducing homelessness, as opposed to, there's not a sort of a caregiving aspect of that aspect.
Well, because we have the services and the programs, we are able to go into this apartment complex and provide services like we do for other housing programs now. So if it becomes identified that an individual that's living independently in those apartments, that we're able to serve them, whether from a homemaking perspective or helping them in and out of the shower, or preparing a meal or that sort of thing.
So there's some sort of there's some assisted living element to that as well as.
They're independent apartments. And it's just like if, someone were living in an independent apartment somewhere else and needed services. So we're able to go in there with those services. And we have veteran programs as well. So we're able to support the veterans in there as well.
Thank you.
Mhm. Yes.
Many of the people who are living in Champlain Place then go over and spend the days or part of the days at Champlain House.
Yes, we have 5 individuals right now. One is a spouse of, so they are a married couple and moved into Champlain Place. He needs additional support during the day so she can get a little bit of a break.
Oh, yeah.
So that's very easy for them to have that opportunity, but, and then there's 4 other individuals too, yes.
And and I guess these are located on the same, adjacent to each other on the same campus, basically.
Yeah, just across the field, yes.
Where's that? And where in Rochester is that?
Yes, so Champlain Place is in the field, right, in front of Champlain House. So the address was changed to Healthcare Drive. It used to be Rochester Hill.
Okay.
So it's
But-
kind of across from the airport.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, it is.
Probably has a coast bus stop, but that's.
It does, yes, yes, we are working with them to come right up to the building, so, but, yeah.
And you mentioned you're serving 12 of the 13 municipalities in Stratford County. Is the other
Yes.
one left out because there's no clients?
That is what's that town?
Milton or Milton Mills or?
That one,
Okay.
yes. Milton Mills. They have no one, we're serving currently in Milton Mills.
Oh, okay.
But that's sort of a demographic.
Yeah.
Just.
Look at the draw,
Thing.
no need.
No, I guess left out of a lot of things in Stratford County, I think, because they're kind of like off in a corner of the county.
And
I've never even been there. I don't even
Milton
know.
Mills is sort of like a smaller suburb, right?
Yeah, it's like Gonic, yeah,
Iconic,
it is for Rochester,
Uh-huh.
that kind of thing.
gotcha.
But I would guess that Gonic probably has a higher population.
It does, it certainly does.
Sounds like a wonderful program. We were getting, was it 85,000 or 80,000?
80,000,
And that's about a little less than a quarter of your overall.
that's right. Yeah.
Stuff you don't get from the. funding
Yes,
sources.
that's right, and we continuously, we rely heavily on grants and towns and, throughout New Hampshire,
Okay.
and, so. Yes, it's a big part of our jobs.
I know your service is very valuable. We have,
Thank you so
I
much.
guess with your predecessor, the agency had provided before, they had some organizational problems, which is apparently not at all the case with yours, so.
Well, thank you. We were able to keep, and employ a lot of the Gene Lanciano is still with us, and Elaine Dunton.
Yes.
A lot of those longtime, employees are still with us, as well as a lot of the homemakers, so we're excited about that.
All sounds good to me. We probably need to do even more of this elsewhere in the other. Make similar.
Thank you.
Are
Yeah,
you
it's-
doing similar in the other?
Yeah, it's
Subcommittee.
all related to staffing, right, and census, so it's a matter of, we also have an adult day program in Manchester.
Yeah.
That is about 3 times the size of this one over here, which has also been around for 40 years. But as far as our services, we are in Hillsborough, Rockingham, at Merrimack, and Stratford County.
Okay, good, thanks.
So,
Well, thanks for coming in and.
thank you so
any more
much. Thank you
questions?
for the work that you do.
Oh,
Thank you, Ray.
Right.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for making the trip.
Absolutely,
Thanks.
absolutely. I'm a Sandown girl, so
Okay,
didn't have to travel too far. Thank you so much.
all right,
Thank you.
thank you.
really great people to work with too, I mean, they're, just so financially responsible, it just makes life so much easier for us.
Even though it's unnecessary, I printed up all the stuff that Janet did, so I spent a lot of time printing out the financial reports for Easter seals.
Yeah, it's a large agency, so.
Okay, great. I'm gonna guess that you're probably from the conservation district, so.
Or,
Cooperative extension.
No.
Okay.
so were we seeing conservation first, or is she here?
Well,
I
she's not, so,
just emailed her and
well,
Okay.
Let's get that
Well,
to
if she's not here, then
conservation.
we can skip ahead, I think.
yeah, skip ahead and then just go backwards, if that's okay with you,
Yeah.
you all.
I'm gonna say,
oh, he's here.
Oh, never mind.
Business of your two agencies overlap a lot, so. Oh,
You're ahead of schedule.
Yeah, a few minutes.
Let me move my things here.
Good morning.
Good morning. I'm Elena Warren. I'm the manager of the Stratford County Conservation District. I have some reports I'd like to share with you. Pass them around. I have some more.
We can just give one to Janet, who's sitting there with the minutes.
Um,
Oh, if I recall correctly, you're missing from last year's meeting because you're on maternity leave, is that correct?
that is correct.
So now you're the mother of a 1-year-old child. So
Yes.
that worked, yeah.
Yep,
Well, I'm glad you made a little bit of time for it. It's pretty hard to find anything.
yep. Yeah. Um, yeah, happy to be back. If any of you aren't familiar with the Conservation District, we have a variety of different programs and services that address soil, water, and wildlife conservation in the county.
Yes.
We're run by a board of volunteer supervisors that live in the county. Being a small local organization, we try to tailor what we do to the needs of the county, and we've been focusing a lot on soil health and reducing runoff from farms into surface waters. Our equipment rental program has been a very successful part of that you might have heard of. There's lots of information in here about all of our different projects and services that we have going on, and we have a plant sale that you might have heard of where we order wholesale tree seedlings and bulbs and things and sell them at a low price to help people with wildlife habitat, pollinator habitat, and controlling erosion and so forth on their property. And yeah, I'm happy to answer any questions about what we do. I don't know if you want me to elaborate on any of that or speak about our budget.
That's the budget, the first one is 62,640, so that's what I guess.
Yep.
It's somewhat, I guess it was a little bit lower last year, so, but
Well, the county supports the increase,
of course, yes.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, I know, yeah. And, so, does your cost are going up a little bit, or you found
Well,
or you underestimated last year, and you have more work to do than.
so, yeah, I mean, I'm sure everybody's, talking about inflation. We actually requested the same amount from 2016 through 2023.
Yeah.
And we kind of just really tried to focus on applying for competitive grants and cutting our administrative costs.
Yes.
And so I guess this year we kind of felt like, we squeezed as much as we could, and we wanted to, respectfully request, I think it was an 8% increase, and yeah, see if we could do some more good with that funding.
So, I have not read all the details here, so. So maybe, so is the funding that we provide essentially, largely for a combination of staffing and office needs, and then the programs that you do are largely grant funded?
Yeah, that pretty much sums it up. We have our usual administrative costs like insurance and all that, and our projects and our equipment rental program and all that stuff is mostly covered by the grants that we apply for from USDA and the New Hampshire Moose Plate program and some other grants.
And do you have other sources of funding for the staff and for the office supplies, et cetera, and other running expenses, or are we pretty much covering that entirely?
The county is pretty much covering that entirely. We don't have any other like consistent source of funding. With some of these short-term grants that we're applying for, we might get like a tiny bit of money for staff time for that project and that kind of thing, but we don't get funding from the state or anywhere else to like keep us going year to year.
And how many staff do you have?
Just me.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, we sometimes we have like a part-time summer intern, that kind of thing. But
and do you rely on and recruit a fair amount of volunteer work for like running the plant sale and that sort of thing, and
Yeah.
other programs?
yeah. yeah, we do try to get help with that kind of thing, and we partner with other organizations, sometimes with some of our projects, like other districts or other partners. Or if we're working with a farm, you know, they help us out with implementing projects, and so, yeah, we scrap everything together from here and there.
Okay, well, that seems to be extraordinarily budget efficient.
Oh, yeah.
I'd like to think so.
Yes, yeah. You mentioned soil mapping, so all the data, which is, the issue goes far beyond, agriculture, like anytime we have to build something, it's like we become the delegation. I've been hearing a lot about building a certain facility somewhere in our property. So that data, like eventually you'd want to maintain the data that they rely on, even though there's a lot of testing that goes into the project, so.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a little bit different now because soil maps are online, but we do have all the like original
Yeah.
soil maps, and we have historic aerial photos that are not online or available anywhere else. And yeah, other files and things that sometimes people need when they're planning something. Yep.
Oh, good, thanks. My mother recently passed as a soil and water scientist. This is a subject near and dear to my heart, so she would have had a lot more questions asked than I would have. She was on the committee, but
Yeah.
she was smart enough not to take on this job, but. But, yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So, one of the things that I know that you do is, you have the equipment rental program for farms to provide things like, seed drills and aeration and, an ash spreader, I think, and, so, why is that program important?
It is important because we and other agencies like the USDA are working with farmers and telling them, like, you should be planting cover crops, you should be reducing tillage, X, Y, and Z, not only for the health of your farm, but also for keeping fertilizer and manure out of Great Bay and other waters. And Stratford County has a lot of small farms that can't be going out and buying a $30,000 piece of equipment just to do this one task that they do once a year on 10 acres or whatever. So we try to keep up to date on like what the latest practices are that farms want and need to be doing, and try to make the equipment available for them to do it. And it's been a pretty popular program, and a lot of other counties around the state have started buying some of the equipment that we had, because they had farmers saying like, hey, they have a no-till seed drill in Stratford County and I want to be able to use one, but I don't want to drive all the way to Stratford County. And so it's grown a lot and been really good for us and the farms.
So, I think Cheshire County has been doing some work with, helping farms get solar as well. Is that, is that correct? And is there anything like that, in Stratford?
Yes. We don't have a program specifically for like energy, in Stratford County at this point. There's no reason why we couldn't do that in the future. We do have a new-ish climate resilience grant that all the districts in the state are offering, and it's for farms to apply for funds for projects that either make them more adaptable to climate issues like drought and precipitation events, or reduce their climate impact by improving their energy efficiency or energy source. So hypothetically, a farm could apply to that grant to help them with converting to solar for their operations.
And so is one of the targets of that grant, further developing soil health?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. Yeah, definitely. Anything, I mean, soil health is twofold. It makes your soils more resilient to drying out and flooding. But it also stores carbon in the soil. So yeah, that's a big, there's been several farms applying for soil health stuff through that grant.
And I would imagine it also helps store nutrients.
Yep.
So.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So did the new definition of soil health in the statute help get that grant?
Yes.
Maybe, yes. That grant is funded from a few different private foundations, and I wasn't directly involved in the fundraising for that, but it's entirely possible that that was part of the conversation, yeah. That's been, yeah, I'm pleased with that change, yeah.
We,
I was pleased to put it, help get it in. so.
Yeah, it's exciting.
one of our committees, well, we had a bill, actually it was sponsored by one of the members of the subcommittee who's not here, but it turned out the origin of it was something to do with storm runoff. They needed a new wastewater facility in Milton because of the storm running into the Salmon Falls River, but also there's something called apparently Dover, something called like a storm water runoff utility or something. Do you know anything? You don't know anything about that?
I'm not.
I
familiar with
can
that.
tell you more about that, but not during this meeting.
Okay, yeah.
There you go.
He was on the committee, but he had a somewhat, what I thought was this, probably this year is somewhat. Yes, the solution was not really a very good one, but apparently there's a problem, but.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Well, we won't go into that anymore.
Right.
But thanks.
So I'm looking at the plant sale
Yeah.
postcard here, and I might not be getting my identification correct, but those kind of look like currants.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if if you have currants in in the sale this year, or if you're not, if that's not something you.
I don't. They're hard to get because of I'm not an expert on plant diseases, but they're a host for some kind of
Pine blister.
blight or rust. Yeah. Yeah. So they're not super available to us.
Yeah, so well, I got some from the plant sale, like probably close to 2 decades ago.
Okay.
And it was a resistant variety, which
Mm.
are now registered with the department and as one is supposed to with currents, so.
Okay.
But
I'll look into it.
I could be also misidentifying it. It could be some kind of a viburnum.
Yeah, that's what it is. It is. It's Fallon's American cranberry bush.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah. Viburnum. Yeah.
So you have
Yeah.
those available in case you want to go take the cranberry bush business?
We have those,
Yeah,
yes.
thank you.
Yep.
They're not actual cranberries though.
They're not, but they look really nice in the winter and the
Yeah,
birds like them.
they're a great wildlife crop, and some varieties are okay in jelly and some are just terrible. I accidentally got one of the terrible ones and made a batch of really bad jelly.
Mm. Good to know. No.
I'm satisfied. Anybody else have any questions? Oh, thanks for coming in.
Yeah, thank you so much for your time. Definitely don't hesitate to reach out if you have any questions about anything. I'll see if I can leave some plant sale information.
Yeah.
Do you want your extra?
Oh, sure,
We
yeah,
have
if you don't
some.
need those, I can take them.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We don't have particularly good attendance this week.
This was less than expected.
Okay.
Well, there are only 3 reps, and usually we get at least over half a dozen, so.
Yeah.
We had a fairly long day. Well,
Well, people are sick.
yes, and we had a long day yesterday. We didn't finish like 6:30 or so, but.
Yeah.
Yeah, those wimps.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much. Hope you have a good
Thank you.
day.
Thank you. Well,
You too.
look forward to seeing you next year. Hopefully I'll still be on the subcommittee then.
All right,
Obviously,
excellent.
keep things simple. All right.
Good
Now we have
morning.
the property consent.
Morning. Sorry I missed the meeting on Monday.
Oh, that's okay. We'll catch you up.
Reverend Tiziski is here too. Welcome, so.
Yeah. Anyone of these?
Well,
Meals on, anyway, Tom, we've done the Meals on Wheels, Easter Seals and the Solar Conservation Districts now are up to the cooperative extension and stuff.
Okay, thanks.
yeah, so I'm here with UNH Cooperative Extension. And just to do a little reminder that UNH Extension is part of the outreach branch of the university, so we are bringing the knowledge in 5 different areas, program areas that we call natural resources, health and well-being, 4-H youth development. We also have food and agriculture. And then we have community and economic development as well. So we're bringing all of that that's happening at UNH to every county in the state, including Stratford County.
Maybe I missed it, you. The director, I'm gonna guess you're Caitlin Womack.
I am, I'm Caitlin Wallach, yep. Mhm.
Caitlin Wallach, so I read it wrong too.
Oh,
Thanks
that's
for
okay.
correcting.
It gets mispronounced quite often. And yeah, so my direct position with UNH Extension is that I work with 4-H youth development. So I do have a little handout if you would like to reference this as well. So in Stratford County, we do have 5 staff members that are in our Dover office. Give
Thanks.
you a stack. And those include our food and agriculture agent, Jonathan Ebba, whose specialty is with greenhouse production. Myself, Caitlin Wallach with 4-H youth development, Sarah Oberly, who works on our health and well-being team with chronic disease. We have our Lindsay Watkins, who is our forester, and then Bettina Seitz, who is our administrative assistant. So it's a total of 4.75 FTE for the county. But the great structure about cooperative extension is that while the county funds 35% of our budget, we do receive 65% from our state and federal funding, which provides over 40 specialists based in Durham, other counties who help provide support and programs for our county as well. On that sheet too, you will see that a big part of our programming is not just what our staff provides, but we actually have a very large volunteer program as well. This includes the Stratford County Master Gardeners who are trained through cooperative extension. We have our nature groupie volunteers who do various citizen science and environmental community service projects throughout the year. We have our 4-H volunteers who make up programs for over 1,200 youth in the county. We also have our STEM docents and a few other volunteer groups throughout the way as well.
Did you mention their wellness docents?
And yes, so a newish program that we have been doing is our wellness docents who go through 40 hours of training, and then they become basically health ambassadors, and they contribute in a few different programs that we've seen. One of the big ones in Stratford County has been our Walk with Ease program. So helping provide some walking programs. They've been doing them in some nursing homes and some different neighborhoods and communities throughout Stratford County, and just really promoting some different ways to keep moving with some of our aging communities. I also have a few other things that I will be happy to share and leave here. One of our things that we try to really promote within Extension 2 is if you are new to New Hampshire, we are a great way to get connected with your surroundings, get to know your environment here a little bit better, and just opportunities. So we have a Welcome to New Hampshire newspaper that we've been providing as that. And then some of our larger projects that have been going on through the year, we do a yearly issue in the magazine as well, and they go a little bit more in depth than I am able to get into this morning here. So I'll leave copies of that for everyone to check out leisurely with a little bit of snow we have.
Sounds good for walking as usual.
Yeah, right. And I'm happy to go in depth a little bit more about anything, or if anyone does have any questions, I'm happy to address those as well.
So, one of the things I was working on a bill that may or may not go anywhere, is that, the county foresters are not part of they're funded not through the sort of regular cooperative extension budget, but it's actually a contract with the State Department of Forest and Field, Forests and Lands. And the forests and lands have a requirement to have landowner education, and they have a contract with extension that provides a forester for every county. And so that's entirely done through state funding that is not channeled through the university, but is in fact just a contract, because extension does this sort of thing really well.
Correct, yes, yes. Yeah, their position is a little bit different in how that is structured, but yes, through that contract, then every county must have a county forester who provides. We do landowner visits, woodlot walks for management of those properties and how to best manage them, whether just for residential use or for logging or for just promoting native species in there as well. And preventing, a big part of it is also helping manage some of those invasive species that like those woodlots quite a bit.
And another aspect of that is that it wouldn't be the county forester who actually designs a forest management or
Correct.
plan or a woodlot management plan for the landowner. They would say, these are the things you should be looking for in someone who would do that service for you, and they have a list of
And yes, and-
accredited foresters who can provide that as on a free market basis to the landowners.
Correct, yes, and even if you do not have a forester come out to do that woodlot visit with you, you can still receive that. We have a resource on our website that provides the accredited foresters in the state, as well as mill yards or any sort of different forestry industry things that you may need. Those are all resources that get provided to.
The foresters sometimes give advice that people aren't going to woodlots per se, but have land that has trees growing on it, it's like Amway does, for example.
Yes, so that's actually a really great question, because more and more, especially in our county, Stratford County, you start to see there's lots of little woodlots that are along the way. But one thing that we, as they try to promote, is that lots of little woodlots combined equal one big woodlot, and that is important to keep maintaining as well, so. It is a slight increase from last year. It's a 2.5. We did not ask for an increase in the previous year, and so we did ask for a 2.5 increase this year. They try our best to keep up with inflation.
Oh, okay.
So, just in terms of the budgeting process, which is might I look through this carefully, but it might not be apparent from what we have here, but the budgeting process is very easy on the county staff, because the cooperative extension management at UNH has a system set up for how each type of staff position gets charged in terms of how much it's going to cost, and that's uniform across the state, so that different counties don't get charged different amounts for the same service. And that's important because you might have people who are in those positions that, for different lengths of tenure and would be paid differently. But there's a cooperative sharing agreement with all of the staff in every county. So for instance, if Jonathan Ebba is a greenhouse expert, but he doesn't just do greenhouses in Stratford County. He does them all over the state. And there are other people who have different agricultural expertise that then get shared to Stratford County. So in order to balance that all out, the staffing budgets that the central cooperative extension administration puts together are essentially laid out for the counties, and the county just, submits that. The county cooperative extension just submits that and doesn't have any power to change it. So we can't go to Caitlin and say, please cut this amount, because she can't.
Yes, correct. Right, and with that fair, it doesn't allow us to be able to have, we found, as more expertise in specific areas has become relevant in developing counties and growing them. It's become more important to be able to bring in a specialist that knows more about that area and be able to help on a specific project versus one person. So it is a beneficial thing. We've been able to really utilize some of those other specialists throughout the state to help with church management. We've also, with community and economic development, they've been able to do some projects in Rochester and some different towns in the county, because we aren't limiting that based on county lines. So it's been nice to benefit from that.
Representative Al Howland from Durham is here, so actually it's not on the subcommittee, but that's.
I'm supposed to be the next, is there one at 10? I'm starting to disrupt your meeting as a confused individual. I know I'm supposed to be here at 1 and at 3. Oh, but I don't have to be here now. See, you're probably happy that I'm not on this committee. It's not a good sign. Sorry to disrupt your meeting.
Maybe you were subbing for someone else.
Nothing. Thanks.
All right, thanks. Well, good to see you.
What kind of economic development project did you do in Rochester?
They worked with, one of their things is that big projects that they've been working with in a few different towns is revitalizing downtowns. So connecting different trails to some downtown businesses and just trying to create more of a hub in the downtown area to help promote those local businesses and get some more walkthrough happening there. So there is some more detail. If you check out on the website, there's actually an article that's a write-up of what they've done down there, and it'll go into more detail than I have.
Just so you want to, well, I guess I could have asked it with soil and conservation district. So, you're obviously you have to work closely with your counterparts in the other 9 counties. Is there anybody formally oversees the coordination of your efforts? Since we heard that the same experts go around county to county, for example.
Yes.
Who oversees?
Yes, so every team, the program area has a program leader in there, and so they're located in Durham, and they sort of have the oversee of all the state programming and county programming that's happening.
And it's also these program, the cooperative extension exists in all the other counties nationwide too, so it's a federal.
Every,
Federal program.
yes, every land grant university has one, so every county and every state has a cooperative extension.
Oh, great.
Yeah, of course, and actually, I think there might be a little bit more on that in this magazine too, if I'm correct, so I will leave them in case you would like them, and any questions or anything, feel free to reach out.
Okay.
Thank you all.
Oh, keep up the good work. Yeah, so
Thanks.
thanks. 10 o'clock, so according to the original schedule, it's supposed to come in 2 minutes ago and stay here for 20 minutes, and I don't know what we want to move on to next, or.
Well, we could start at the end of the agenda,
Yeah, sure.
and then when Coast comes in, I'll stop,
Yeah, okay.
if that's okay.
Oh, that's great, yes.
So the last item, which is scheduled to be heard at 12:20.
Yeah.
Is interest on temporary loans, health insurance, other accounts, county convention. Employee appreciation, tuition assistance, contingency. I can tell you that obviously the interest on temporary loans has gone up. Our first round was sold at. We'll get our first round. And what we did is, the first round is the largest round. The second round, which is not only largest because it's the largest amount of money, but it's also largest because it's the longest time period.
Yes.
So where in the paperwork is this?
It would be
Third
third to the last website.
after that,
After that.
or it's those three, I think.
Okay, so turn to other accounts and. Okay, so debt account, so we're talking at debt accounts.
Yeah.
Yes.
So the TANs that were authorized by the last executive. Hey, Red,
3.74%.
was it, we had 4 or 5 bidders?
Yeah.
And, Northway Bank was our lowest bidder, so that's who got the award. At the 3.74%.
We had 5 bids and 3.74% was the lowest bid.
So we replicated that amount for, our second round. We used that amount. We're hopeful that rates might drop, but we don't know that, so we simply used the same amount for our second round of borrowing.
Anticipation of I think we've heard about this, we discussed it.
That's the 3.4%.
Yeah.
3.74%.
The taxes we haven't achieved yet, but.
Correct. We operate in arrears, and the taxes are collected, December 17th.
Yeah.
And just in case, as has happened, one of the towns, might have. They don't have a problem in collecting the taxes. They have a problem at the date in which the tax rate is set. And therefore the date at which they can send their bills out. So we don't pay off our tax anticipation notes till the end of the year. So we have that 10 or 12 days that allows, last year, it just happened to be Farmington that had a problem setting the school tax. I don't know the exact details, but we use that flexibility of those 10 or 12 days.
It is the 4th tab from the back.
So we that worked out well for us in the sense that we didn't have to kind of mark Farmington late, because as you know, you're the county and you collect your taxes late, it dings your bond rating. So, we leave ourselves that little bit of flexibility so we can say that it wasn't collected late. And actually what I've been known to do is say, give me the check and tell me when to put it in the bank.
Oh, okay.
So the check's dated the day the taxes are due, which is by statute the 17th. And sometimes we might be a day or 2 or 3 or 4 delinquent in depositing the check, just to make sure that it doesn't affect anybody's bond rating, theirs or ours.
Ours is pretty good, is it? What's our bond rating? I think it's good.
Hopefully my office is right next door.
Diane will get it for you.
Oh,
Yeah, it's adequate and on the rise, so we're happy about that. We obviously, because we haven't done any bonds lately, we haven't been re-rated.
It's an A3 stable rate through Moody's.
So we haven't been re-rated lately. I actually envision if we are or will be re-rated, I think we'll be in a likely situation where we will go up as long as we maintain a reasonable fund balance, which is DRA, state DRA says 5 to 13%. We're between 5 and 6 right now. National organizations like the Government Finance Officers Association will tell you 8 to 13. But we go based on the DRA, state DRA, which recommends 5 to 13% for, so as long as we stay in that area, or I prefer to go a little bit higher than that, so we're not just at the minimum. And then that will maintain our bond rating. If we drop below that, then that will drop our bond rating.
Thanks. And how is this process affected by the fact that we're on a calendar year?
Well, there's no question that there's no question that the conflict between the state's fiscal year, the federal fiscal year, and the county's calendar year creates some challenges in terms of budgeting and borrowing and things like that. Also, the fact that even though the cities and towns collect taxes twice, we only collect taxes once, which gives the cities and towns more flexibility. Especially the towns, the fear would be that if we collected twice, it would be less interest that we would have to pay. However, the towns might have to borrow money in order to pay us. So to us, it's better that we do it because it's one borrowing as opposed to exposing a half a dozen towns to borrow money to pay us. Because there is a certain cost of borrowing, not just the interest rate, but a procedural cost for borrowing. So it was decided many years ago that the county would operate this way. There's a couple of counties that have changed over to a fiscal year. However, when you do that, you need to collect 18 months taxes in order to do that, because you'd start January and you'd go to June 30th. And then from then on, you'd go from July 1st to June 30th. So I don't think anybody's had the appetite to raise county taxes at least 50%, which is what it would cost in the long run, probably over the course of 10 or 15 years, it would equal out. But I don't think anybody I don't think there's ever that good of a financial time where somebody's county taxes would want to go up that amount of money.
That sounds extremely unpopular today.
Yeah, and it would be extremely unpopular, although, over the long run, it would be, fiscally prudent, but it would take a lot of years to catch up. Rockingham has been the latest county that's done it, and because the question periodically comes up, I followed the process. Well, what Rockingham County did is built up a huge surplus, a huge fund balance. I got to get these terms correct. A huge fund balance. So what they did is, say they raised, I'm just making this number up because it's an easy number. If they raised $100 million in taxes, what they did is, over the years, grew their fund balance to $50 million. And then use that $50 million to fund that 6 months. To make it 18 months. But I mean, that's the taxpayers' money they're hanging on to. But they did that in order to change to a fiscal year. So
what's the advantage of being on the same fiscal year as the state?
Nothing really to us, none. As long as we continue to be informed about state legislation that impacts county costs. And I've been here a long time. I've been here 36 years. And so on the first 10 or 15 years I've been here, we wouldn't know, or at the last minute, there would be things done in Concord that would dump costs on the county. And when that happened, we found out after the budget was passed and had no time to educate our legislators that if you do this, you're going to have this kind of hometown impact. so that, put us into a pretty desperate financial situation on more than one occasion. Because we get hundreds of thousands of dollars dumped on us. And honestly speaking, a lot of legislatures didn't even understand that was happening because it came out of a committee of conference, at the very end. And didn't really understand the impact of that on the local taxpayer. I think we're a lot better at that now, working with all the 10 counties together as the association of counties, of keeping track of that through the entire process. So that we're much better off about being able to let you all know as legislators when bills come up that do that. Also, we're asked now for fiscal notes on legislation when the counties didn't used to be asked. And I only know that because I do all the fiscal notes for all the counties. Because I've been around a long time, I usually have and because I do both jobs, the nursing home job and the county administration job, which means supervising the jail and those things too, that I'm the one that gets all the fiscal requests for fiscal notes. And that way, that's another opportunity for us to keep an eye and advise you all on legislation that impacts the counties. Fortunately, in the last few years, the things that the legislature's done has been helpful to the counties. And as you know, whenever we have executive committee meetings or county delegation meetings, I always thank the delegation for, those efforts. I think keeping us educated about those things through the Association of Counties. It's impossible for all 10 counties to be in Concord and know what's going, it's just impossible. So, we contribute a small amount of dues for the Association of Counties who monitors the legislation for us and advises us on and makes suggestions for us. But it really, the impact is zero as long as we stay on top of things.
Right. So, and if there's legislation that's affecting counties, then it probably makes sense to make sure that the effective date on that is set in such a way that the counties will have sufficient warning.
Sufficient time to respond to it. I mean, the hope is honestly that, that there's not going to be a pass down. But if there is if the decision of the legislature is for a pass down of some kind, then certainly notice is helpful.
Yeah.
So we don't have to end up calling the delegation back in, for some kind of supplemental appropriation, which we haven't had to do. I think we've done it once in my 36 years here. But I think with the association, with the 10 counties banding together and the fact that the same legislators, are on both in Concord and here with the budget, I think it's helpful. We've certainly over the past have sent out letters to, our delegation saying, if this passes, then it's going to have this kind of an impact on us. So, that's been really helpful, but you're right. It doesn't really matter.
How long have you had this undesignated fund balance? Seems to be a fairly new phenomenon in this.
We've always had, there's been years when we've had a negative undesignated fund balance. There's years when we've had a negative one in those years in which the state passed down costs to us. And we tried to find a way to make it work. How long we've had a designated fund balance, probably last 4 or 5 years of amounts.
Actually, in our financial statements here, you can see the actual trend. I mean, this goes back to 2013, but it continues beyond that. But this just shows you the trend of what our unassigned fund balance has been.
So you have a line in the budget where we could find where the unassigned.
Oh, it's right in the audit.
But there's not a lot, unassigned fund balance, no, there isn't, it's not something that is budgeted for.
I think-
It is-
If I could just take a minute and explain.
Mhm.
Our undesignated fund balance is substantially different than an undesignated fund balance in the city of Rochester. Let's use Rochester, because that's the subject that's come up in prior meetings. A lot of our undesignated fund balance is money owed to us, but it's still money we're going to collect. It's money we've earned, but it's not cash we have in the bank. So let me give you a clear example. We finished, we're owed now millions of dollars by the state of New Hampshire that we will collect. But it takes, the state takes a good amount of time in which to pay us. And let me give you two examples that total $2 million. We have, we are going to receive and I'll round the number off, $1.4 million from the opioid trust fund. Now, that was approved by governor and council in September or October. Since then, the state has audited us, audited the numbers that were approved by governor and council. We've gone through the audit process and are fine with the number that we claimed, and it was presented to the opioid trust fund committee. But, and we've received acknowledgement from them that the number was right, you're all set. It's gonna be months before we get the money. As one example. Another example I'll tell you is, and I've talked about this in front of the executive committee several times. We have when the COVID money crisis, ARPA, was happening, before COVID was declared over, which is really not, I mean, we still have COVID, but the COVID funding from the federal government was available. The feds lowered our percentage of payment of Medicaid. Right now, we pay 50% of Medicaid, and the feds pay 50% of Medicaid. When it comes to long-term care Medicaid, so people in nursing homes, people in home care that are on Medicaid, is in New Hampshire, it's the counties that pay the non-federal share. Well, certainly the bulk of the non-federal share. I'd argue with the state that we pay the whole federal, non-federal share. They say they contribute some. When the state picked up, the feds picked up an extra 6%, rounding it off, 6%. So I expected that money to end when the COVID crisis was declared over in March. So I didn't figure we were gonna get any money in 2023 of that 6%. And by the way, we had to get legislation to force the state to give us that 6%. They kept it at the beginning of the COVID crisis. So fortunately, praise to the legislature for forcing them to give us our share. Except it didn't end. It phased out. The federal government phased it out. So it went from like 6.4% to 5% to 2.5% to 1%, quarter by quarter of 2023. So there's no money now, but the state just today or yesterday paid us
Yeah, this week, the last couple of days.
within the last couple of days, just paid us for the third quarter, our third calendar quarter, and the fourth quarter. They paid us together just this week. So as an example, in reality, we had earned that third quarter money by September 30th. We earned the fourth quarter money by December 31st, but I had to remind the state repeatedly that they owed us this money. So, I mean, we say we have an undesignated fund balance, but it's not cash. It's not all cash. A lot of it is money that's owed to us that we know we're gonna collect, but it's not in our hands.
Some of it is.
We ended the year with $555,000 in the bank. And if you look at our undesignated fund balance, it says for 2022, which is the last year we have an undesignated fund balance, it shows what?
3,840,000.
So the balance is, you know, if you only have 555,000 in the bank, the balance is money that's owed to us.
Unassigned fund balance is really the cumulative result of operations over years.
You know, we get told this in Rochester too, and it's not cash, but yet it's used for supplemental appropriation.
Well, we don't use ours for supplemental appropriations.
It just,
I mean, maybe.
We don't have enough to use for
If you had,
supplemental
if you had 2
appropriations.
million cash, maybe you would.
Maybe we would. Yeah.
no.
No, I'm just saying the concept, because to me, I think this started up around 2011, 2012. Seemed like it was right after Dover and Rochester instituted some tax caps, because we have a little problem with if you do supplemental appropriations, it kind of goes around the tax cap. But anyway, I don't remember of even Rochester having this kind of money. That's why I'm asking when it started.
Yeah.
Because it just
We've
doesn't
always-
seem like something's been always in place here, having, and you phrased it correctly, it's taxpayer money.
And
It
it's,
is a surplus, really. That's, you could call it the fund balance, but.
yeah, I know there's,
And you're absolutely right. I mean, each year, you know, because we can't overexpend the bottom line of the budget and whatnot, we'll have a surplus, and that is the result of operation for that particular year. And then the surplus can add and affect your fund balance cumulative. That's more of a cumulative over many years. So you're absolutely right. That unassigned fund balance, you know, your surplus does play into that.
And county government.
So does the unassigned fund balance have an effect on the bond rating?
oh,
Absolutely.
absolutely.
It's probably one of the biggest.
It's probably
Things.
it's probably the biggest factor in your bond rating, because the bond company wants to know, I mean, if you look at our budget, and I'm rounding numbers off again, about half of our budget is revenue generate, you know, is revenue that we believe we're going to earn over the course of the year. If for some reason we don't earn that revenue, something happens and we don't earn it as we envision, the lenders want to know that you'll have some money to pay them. So it is the key factor and that's why the Department of Revenue Administration says, you know, 5 to 13% is their range. Because that's what keeps your entity fiscally sound. I'll take Rochester's, by the way. I'd be happy to have their $32 million.
And I'd be happy as a taxpayer to have that money go back to the taxpayer.
Yeah.
And
Because
it
it's
is,
mischief that goes on with these things.
Well, I can't, I don't know anything, anything about Rochester. I can only tell
Well,
you that
it's
we don't
just-
spend our fund
We should
balance.
probably get to the
Yeah.
coast thing.
and it is such a
Just
balancing
15.
act is what it is, because you want to have enough fund balance that you're healthy and viable
Yeah.
entity, but not so much that what you're saying is correct, that it's borne on the taxpayers.
How much
And
difference does it make on the bond rate?
A huge difference.
Like how many percentage?
You could drop out of the A range into a B range very easily. In fact, we used to be, when we didn't have that fund balance, we used to be in the B range. We were just short of junk bonds.
And it was hundreds of thousands of dollars more to borrow money.
Yeah.
For our
That's
just
what
our
I'm
tax,
talking about, the
our tax
percentage
anticipation.
on
Hundreds of thousands of dollars more. We used to pay twice or three times our tax anticipation note borrowing, because it affects that too. It doesn't just affect bonds, it affects short-term borrowing, because these people want to make sure they get their money back at the end of the year.
And it's a more expensive type of borrowing too. Now, we go out to bid, the local banks will bid on our products. Before we would have to go.
we would have to go to,
To New York, to an entity in New York City to be able to sell
Okay.
what we had, so it was
Yeah,
just. so
because,
much
and
more
it's considered a
expensive.
high risk.
Probably get to the coast thing.
Yeah, I'm
But
sorry,
we'll
Red.
say- But we'll say just, all this money is being borrowed and appropriate, at least ostensibly for the benefit of the taxpayers, so the taxpayers.
But, I don't disagree with Representative Kaczynski at all. When you reach a certain amount of money in your fund balance, certainly if it's over that 12% or 10% or whatever, I agree with you 100%. It's
I only got two words, human nature.
Well, so.
And this is, I thank you for speaking because this is very important. We're talking a lot of money here.
Yeah,
Yeah, I understand,
It's
sir.
real bucks.
I don't think anybody here is,
But I just wanted to make sure you knew there's a difference between our fund balance and the fund balance for a place like the city of Rochester, who actually has the cash.
Yeah.
And it's actually in a separate bank account. Where a lot of ours is money that's owed to us and it comes to us several months later.
Yeah.
Just the last quick thing.
Yeah.
When I have somebody that comes in to the nursing home and is applying for Medicaid, which over 90% of my residents are on, I only have 8 private pay people and they're spending down to Medicaid.
Yeah.
When it takes a minimum of 4 months, maybe as long as 6 or 8 months to get them approved on Medicaid. Yes, we get back paid. So we'll get back paid, but we constantly have a turnover of money that's owed to us. Well over $1 million a year end. We will get the money. It just might take 4 or 6 months to get it. So we count that as part of our surplus and then fund balance. But it's not money, it's not cash we have in the bank. That's all I'm trying to say. Okay, I stop.
And I will, Brad Nichols from Coast, who's been waiting here patiently.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to meet with you today. I am Brad Nichols. I'm the executive director of Coast. I'm only shy of you by 9 years. Right.
Oh, is that right, Brad? I didn't know.
So
You look a lot better than I do.
I don't move quite as good as you.
Both look fine to me.
So I changed things up a little bit, gave you some additional background material. I'm gonna go right to page 7, if that's all right with you all. And just let you know that ridership is steadily rebounding on the system since as we've come out of COVID. 2021 is really our low. This year, since June of this year, we brought back Saturday service that we really hadn't been running because of driver shortages that were ongoing for many years. We stepped up again and reduced the service suspensions this fall, and then in January we finally got rid of all of our service suspensions that had been going on since 2021. And in the last 6 months, we've seen incredible ridership gains of greater than 35% month over month when we compare against last year. Route 33 itself, which is the route that comes out here to serve the county complex, in the last 4 months, we're averaging nearly 55% higher ridership than we did in fiscal year 19. So our last full year before COVID. So it's an incredibly successful route comparing back pre-COVID. And then we have ADA ridership, which is associated with Route 33. And that's not entirely, but largely driven by the the clinic out off of 6th Street for individuals needing diabetes care.
Fresenius.
Yeah.
Fresenius.
And ridership, ADA ridership that's associated with Route 33 is the highest it's ever been. So we are seeing really nice, we're seeing really nice steady gains as we've come out of COVID. Those gains have really accelerated in the last 6 to 7 months. On page 8, just wanted to highlight, we do have some upcoming fiscal changes, and they are really related to the emergency federal relief that we got as a result of COVID and those funds being used up. We've been discussing this as an organization for a couple of years, and this summer we held a meeting with all of our communities and our partners to advise of this change over the past summer. It will mean that we are facing a operating shortfall starting next year. Our fiscal year is the federal fiscal year, so starting next October, we're projecting about $500,000 shortfall. So solutions that we're looking at is to participate in charitable gaming as a nonprofit. We've not done that in the past. We will continue to hope to build on our successes in the last state operating budget and in the next biennium pursue additional funding for Coast. The funding that the additional state funding that was approved in the state budget for the current biennium was about a 5 times increase statewide. So we went from $200,000 statewide, $400,000 over the biennium to just over $2.2 million over the biennium. For Coast, we're going to go from about $32,000 a year in state funding to just over $380,000 in fiscal year 25. Ideally, we're able to sustain that going forward in the next biennium and grow that. We are about to launch a new capital, major gifts campaign, both for capital support for a new facility, which we're working on finalizing design on and moving to construction, as well as an annual campaign to support our operations, and then a legacy campaign for ongoing support. We are seeking increases in municipal and partner financial support. And alternatively, we would need to look at reducing our services. So we are really trying to diversify our revenue streams to relieve pressure on our member municipalities and partner organizations like the county. We believe strongly that we can move forward successfully, but we can't do it alone. And so we need the support of our partners and our municipalities and the like. If we flip to page 9, this chart shows you what we ask of our member municipalities and our partners. Partners is you're at the very bottom of the bottom chart, Stratford County, and you see that the number that is specifically for Coast is $64,581. And that supports Route 33 and the associated ADA paratransit services that go along with the route. And then we're asking for an additional $8,000 in support of the Alliance for Community Transportation, or ACT, which is the regional transportation coordination effort. The amount requested for Coast is a 12% increase. The amount for ACT is level from last year. So overall, it represents a 10.5% increase over last year. These funds will leverage over $170,000 of federal funds that come to Coast for the purpose of providing public transit.
Okay.
Just to mention the impact that Coast has on the county.
Yeah.
I actually have a resident that rides your Coast bus from the nursing home. Only one, is capable of doing that, but he rides the bus. It supports our tenants. Southeastern New Hampshire services. It supports the courts for people that need to come out here for court appearances. It supports our drug court. We have 70, as of last Friday, when we had the criminal justice subcommittee, we had 74 members in the drug court. So it supports a drug court that needs to come out here, could be as much as weekly or bi-weekly for meetings with the judges. Because a lot of these ladies and gentlemen don't have any mechanism for transportation. So, Coast is we solicited Coast a number of years ago when Community Action did a survey that focused on this area about what some of the biggest problems were, and it turned out to be transportation. And so we solicited Coast to develop Route 33. Brad and I worked together on it, to develop Route 33 to support, our Superior Court, that pays us $600,000+ a year in rent. The Southeastern New Hampshire Services, which pays us, I don't know off the top of my head, but a reasonable amount of rent. All of those things are substantially supported by the fact that Route 33 exists. Also, and this is a more of a significant problem than you might recognize. When somebody's released from the jail, when their time's up, they have to be released. If they don't have transportation, then we're in a situation where they walk the road. And when they walk the road, they have frequently stopped at houses. And we've gotten a lot of nasty calls from neighbors because they don't want to be bothered by these ladies and gentlemen who've just been released from the jail. We tried for a good period of time to ask the municipality who arrested the person and they ended up incarcerated to come and pick them up. And that's impossible. To ask Milton to drive down here for somebody that, they had arrested is ridiculous. Plus, the thought of them dropping everything and being able to send somebody, and have we can't have this person wait. Once their time's up, their time's up. And we have to let them go. So what we have been able to do is we do acquire some free bus passes from Coast for people that don't have any money. And it takes the pressure off the neighborhood. It enhances court appearances, which reduces jail population. So this is, to us, not a significant contribution that solves what we were faced with was a major problem.
So, to clarify, so one of the things that has allowed us to have a smaller population of county offenders in the jail is the monitored release program, right?
Yeah, we monitor, and I don't know if because this is a breathtaking number to me. Every Monday I get a report, that comes from Community Corrections. We monitor 545 people in the community on average. Those are people that probably at least 3/4 of them, maybe more, would be in the jail if we didn't have the monitoring program.
That's on average, so half the time it's more than 545.
Yeah, so, we would, our jail would be overfull, frankly.
And we wouldn't have rental space.
We wouldn't have any rental space and we'd be overfull. With the people that we have there now and the people that, if Community Corrections didn't exist to monitor these people, like I said, we did an analysis a couple of years ago, and at least 3/4 of the 545 people would be in the jail because there'd be no community monitoring. And that's why bail reform never bothered us. When the legislature passed significant bail reform, we were already doing it. So it really had no impact on us. community monitoring is a financial equalizer. I would like to think that if one of my children got into trouble, that I would, you know, be in a position to bail them out. Whereas if I didn't have the assets, they'd sit in jail. But community monitoring allows us to take those person who can't afford to make their bail. And the bail could be something as little as $200 or $300. And we can monitor them in the community and they can, you know, be productive. Remember, not everybody that's arrested is guilty.
No, and even if those who are, the bails.
Well, sometimes people
they're
sit
not a
in,
punishment.
sometimes in the old days, people would sit in jail longer than they would be sentenced for when they got convicted. But by the time they got to court, to me, anybody that gets sentenced to time served, oh, you served your time in jail, you're sentenced, they've already served too long a period of time. They wouldn't have served that long had the matter been adjudicated in a more timely manner. But the pressure's also off the court when they're community monitored, because they're not, you know, there's not a set time situation.
And part of that community monitoring is periodically coming for a check-in here, right?
Which brings us back to why Coast is such an essential partner.
Yeah, do they, when they release prisoners from the jail, do they try to time it with the bus?
Well, we actually do, or what we do is say, hey, you can go, but it's 0 degrees out right now. Why don't you sit here? Cause the bus is coming in 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And, you know, and you don't have any money. Oh, great. Well, here's a bus pass for you.
I heard some,
Or, you know, because this way, they're not walking down the road at 0 degrees, and they're not, also, you know, there's obviously no sidewalks on County Farm Road or County Farm Cross Road. And we're a little ways from downtown anywhere,
it'd be dangerous.
you know, and Coast Route 33 does end up bringing them to the hub.
Right.
You know, the hub in Dover, so they can then take buses, you know, to everywhere that Coast travels.
Oh, Reverend Kaczynski here.
Yeah, so I was looking at these ways to increase your financials. I don't see in there raising the rates to anybody. I mean, do people actually pay to? I'll ask a stupid question, but they.
Yes, yep,
Oh,
they pay $1.50
With
to ride.
the way the economy is with all this inflation and the cost of, if you own a car, the gasoline, the cost of the car and all that, it would seem like these rates should be rising anyway to keep proportion with the private sector, or the driving sector. And these people, whoever's riding on the bus is still saving a good amount of money off of owning a vehicle. I mean, is there a reason why that wouldn't be part of the process to get more money in?
That is something that the board looks at on a regular basis. We have chosen not to raise our rates because of the impact that would have on the folks that are using the bus. It is, the folks that are using the bus, that it's surprising how much a rise in that rate will affect their ability to ride. And we've chosen not to impinge on their ability to ride at this point.
Yeah.
We are not averse to continuing to look at that as one way to help raise revenues. Fares that we collect, the one thing about fares is they're not considered match like the county's funds are considered match. They're not eligible to be used as leverage for additional federal funds. So they come off the top, and
I
then.
guess just having a private business, I think like a businessman, you know, cause I gotta live in that world.
Yeah.
But I figured that if the users don't pay anymore, that means everybody else is gonna pay more. Somehow, that's how it's gonna work. So in a fairness for all the people, including the taxpayers.
Yep.
I figured that if everybody you know, I could give you a reason why there's inflation. You might not agree with me, but the fact is it's there. It's high and everybody else, when they go to the stores and every other thing, they're paying for it.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
if everybody felt it, then maybe they would, be fair anyway.
To date, what our analysis has shown, if we did raise our rate, we would actually, the impact on ridership would mean we would actually collect less fares. That's the challenge.
So they wouldn't ride then.
Right.
Because if you went up 12% like you're asking for an increase here.
They,
What would that-
it-
what would-
So we have looked at various levels of increase. I couldn't tell you what the percentages
Yeah.
are. Basically, it's more driven by what someone would typically be able to carry and pay easily.
Mhm.
And in the past, all of those thresholds have shown that we would actually collect less fare because of the negative impact on ridership. Now, we're not, like I said, we're not averse to continuing to look at that. And I think that's very valid.
Well, I guess this past week, I met a prominent businessman in Rochester, and he told me a story about somebody that worked at the Portsmouth shipyard and was interested in trucking people there because they had a need.
Mhm.
He took out money for one bus. This was only a few years ago. Now he has 6 buses doing this. This is a private person that's charging. He's not getting a government subsidy. He's not getting matching funds. He's making money doing this. He had to increase the buses he had. So that's why I'm thinking, wow, there must be something to this bit,
There is, all
You know.
those shipyard workers who are riding don't pay a dime.
Yeah.
That comes from the federal government and that's a commuter benefit that they get. So that they get free transportation to the shipyard under what's called their TIPS program.
Well,
So you.
So he,
that's another tax on me.
so they actually, it's a very sound business model that they have to get shipyard workers to the yard. And because of the way their business is structured and who drives those buses, they can actually get through the gate and onto the yard with those buses. Whereas we try to do something different and we can't. And the value of getting onto the yard and reducing the walk is
Well,
highly.
I'm just saying, as an example,
Yes.
because I'm sure there's people that do this that don't have the government giving them some kind of matching money, you know what I mean? Because
Not in public transit, no, there isn't. We're all subsidized in public transit.
Sounds like the shipyard is subsidizing that. I mean, it sounds like something you may have looked into bidding on or participating in and it didn't work for you.
Yeah, we started with shipyard services back in 2012, 2013.
Yes, so.
Yeah.
But your drivers don't have the permission to get onto the
No.
shipyard campus.
Right.
And so that difference of like, you need to drop them at the gate as opposed to bringing them all the way to where they're going.
Highly
And
valued,
when the weather's like this. It's
highly
like,
valued.
Sounds like
I'm
you
just
should.
using it as an example,
Sounds like you could have been
something
in there.
somebody could do rather than
yeah,
be dependent on government for it.
Well, sounds
And
like-
we have diversified our operations over the years so that we have new agreements, new partnerships that help that help subsidize the overall operation due to the way we've structured those agreements.
Yeah.
So we are always looking to diversify our revenue streams and relieve the pressure really primarily on our municipalities and our partners like the county.
Yeah, question about Route 33, so you used to go by what was for about 20 years that measured, well, 50, a number of years that measured progress and testing people, opened up a test scoring center,
Yes.
which then eventually closed. Did you have a significant amount of ridership on that bus route?
At times we did.
Yeah.
It would fluctuate based on sort
Yes.
of their
Yeah.
workload. But like I said, today we're doing a whole lot more ridership than we did,
Okay, yeah,
5 years ago.
I remember that particular organization. I worked there. I was one of the people with the fluctuating workforce, and then for a lot of times working there, there was a bus stop very near the testing facility, and there's a bus stop near my house, but to be able to use it, I would have didn't sync up with their work schedule, but.
Yeah, yeah.
But that's, they've now long merged with somebody else, so that's a moot point, but although that does raise the issue, just sort of like coordinating with the, any large employers along the route, like including maybe even the shipyard, for example, but. Anyway, so that's,
And we're talking to the shipyard right now about a parking shuttle in Kittery.
Yeah.
That, you know, their recent, the recent court decision on all the contractors who are using parking on the island versus the shipyard workers has forced the shipyard to come up with a new island, parking
yes,
solution.
I know they have people park all over the place.
Yeah.
I know a guy used to park in downtown Portsmouth, you know, like, I guess someone's got to pass in the parking garage or something, he walked, that was partially dad to his exercise right there, that was like, but anyway, so.
Yeah.
And,
Getting back to
Yes.
the value of this for the
Yeah.
county, I think that it's clear that just in terms of the impact on reducing, and making it possible for people who wouldn't have the means to get out here otherwise.
Yeah.
I think there is a substantial monetary benefit to the county to have this be a very consistent, solid route, and I think it's worth paying for. Because, you know, what's the total that we're,
Oh,
72,581, yeah.
okay, so 72,000, that's, you know, that is in terms of how long someone would be, you know, how much that saves us on like one or two spots in the jail.
Couple
That
few.
pretty much covers it.
Yeah, few, yeah, few.
We're basically
So-
paying for a shuttle bus from downtown Dover over here, which.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it, you know, it's been a great service and it's a proven factor.
I certainly hope maybe more major employers, since we're one of the major employers in Dover, like, can probably work with you to set up.
Well, we tried to work with them, you know, we tried to work with people on the way, like Liberty Mutual and stuff, and of course, they're gone now. You know, primarily gone,
Yeah.
and
But although they're building a new bank, Northeast Credit Union is building a palatial new headquarters out there,
Yeah,
so
well-
maybe they'll get some people on our.
But that's just kind of irrelevant, because what we're paying out of county funds to Coast is basically paying for,
Yeah.
partially paying for a huge service that we're getting from
no,
Coast.
no question.
And the benefit to the county for this is way beyond what we're paying, so I think, you know, this is just a, you know, a real win for the county to be able to do this.
Yeah.
And
You know, Brad and I worked really well together over the years, you know, I've known Brad for all the years he's been at Coast, so. You know, he's also done us a couple of, you know, services that have really been helpful. Related to the Dover, the celebration you just had, I can't remember how many years. Yeah, I mean, Brad helped us with that and, you know, I called the poor man when he was on vacation, but he, you know, he responded and hooked me up with the right person to, you know, to help with that. So, you know, those kinds of things come from relationships, you know, that we've developed. He got us a vehicle for Riverside. You know, small bus, you know, for free. You know, those kinds of relationships, have really worked out well for us.
Yeah, we've heard a lot recently in other proceedings about the importance of having a bus to the nursing home, but
Yeah.
we're reminded a lot, not to get that whole.
Yep.
We're not full too much, but we're reminded a lot, like, we didn't necessarily, of things we didn't have to build on the nursing home campus, because the residents could be bused.
Yeah.
All right, so let's not get too far afield.
No,
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Are we good with Coast?
I'm good, yeah.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
I'm sorry to have kept you waiting,
No,
Brad.
that's all right. And
What's up with the leg?
that's my MS
Uh,
affecting me more and more over
maybe,
time.
yeah.
Well, that's one of the reasons we need a bus network and other transportation services. for.
Yeah. Someday I'll be a user.
Yeah. All right, thanks.
So, thank you. Have a great day.
Thanks. I've been talking when and I'm getting used to the register of deeds. Although Oh, no. The sheriff's department has been watching us. Are you bringing something up at some point in the proceedings or? is it-
So we just, yeah,
They're familiarizing themselves with the process.
Oh, cool, understood.
You know, because as you know, this is with the changeover in leadership at the sheriff's department. I've asked them just to kind of sit in on all the budget meetings, so they'll familiarize themselves with the process. I think they did a great job of putting together a budget, which was vetted by the Criminal Justice Committee last Friday. But I think the more exposure that they get to this process, the better the product will be. Also, this gives them an opportunity to hear from the delegation members and even though it might not be directly related to their budget, it helps them to hear and understand the process. Where they kind of got thrown into it,
Okay.
where they kind of got thrown into it in the past.
Yeah.
So they're been kind enough to sit in with us.
That's been great. Anybody, maybe needs to come for refreshment or whatever, we take a brief recess here while waiting for the register of deeds to show up. Yeah, but there are lots of things like for example, we're talking about releasing people from the jail, like, on the bus, that's, affect you guys.
Yeah, they came up from downstairs, yeah. Yeah, they're just kind of like breakfast snacks for,
Dave does a great job down there.
Yeah, he does,
Yeah.
yeah. He's,
Really appreciate it.
well, the biggest thing is it is, it subsidizes the court, if the one. I was always told that once your rent increases to a certain level, the state gets tempted to build their own courthouse. And I can't imagine what we would do with the courtrooms upstairs and losing $600,000+ in rent. So the fact that we, manage a cafeteria, which we've tried to privatize on 3 occasions during my tenure here, and it's never worked. If it encourages them and others to stay here as rent payers, it's well worth it for us to, some years we gain a little money, some years we lose a
We have
little
some
money.
muffins and some yogurt and stuff you want.
Hello.
Oh,
Hi,
great.
how are you?
Great. Morning.
Come on in,
Place
sit
for
down.
me to go. Okay, great, thanks. Hi, Ray, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good, thanks. Hi. Hello. Obviously, it's filled with goodies. It's tempting. I'll turn this off. Let's see.
So you're on, young lady.
Okay, so, as far as our revenues are down, but I know that that's for this afternoon more than now, but as far as, our budget, we're in line with pretty much last year. Currently, we have, 5 full-time and 1 part-time staff member. When I first started, we had 7 full-time. So we have someone now that who just left, and we need to replace that, staff member. We, are anticipating that the part-time person will be leaving at the end of April, and, we will be hiring hopefully someone then to replace that person. What's happening now is a lot of the staff that's been there not a lot, because there's gonna be, I'm sure, staying for a while. They have a lot of longevity, sick time, vacation time. So we still need to keep, even though our documents are down, we still have a lot to do. We still need to staff, obviously the office and make sure that we're there for people who are coming in or have questions. We also are doing a lot of historical preservation. We have 1 staff member who's spending some time, I don't want to say a good amount of time, but several hours a week in scanning all of our books. So we're back to book actually 49, which is amazing. So it's about 1801 that we have all scanned in. And I know a lot of registries actually contracted out to have that done, which is thousands and thousands of dollars. And we've been able to use that person to really scan, and he does a great job. Tom is, you probably know Tom, I don't know if you do, in our office. So everything's going well in our office. We've, as I said, we've spent a lot of time training, because we do have a relatively new person in as well. She's here now for about 3 months, and she's fantastic. But we've had a little bit of turnover. As I said, we had someone leave after she was there for about 1.5 years. She was also wonderful, but she had a better opportunity, higher pay and more responsibility. So she moved on. So that's part of the challenge I think that everyone is facing, is being able to keep people. For the people who've been there for a long time, there's, it's great for them, so they're not moving on. But for those that are just, starting, that sometimes that's a little bit more of a challenge, because then something else may come along. But I give, great kudos to the staff. They're fantastic. And I don't have any complaints as far as they're concerned. As you're probably aware, as far as what's going on with the registries, I was sued as Register of Deeds by the city of Rochester. I sent a letter out to all the delegates, so we have a hearing coming up on February 27th that I think will resolve the matter, hopefully. And it was really just an issue where I didn't feel I had any discretion. I had to follow the statute, that the documents that were being submitted didn't follow the recording requirements. So we did do a lot to try to come up with a settlement, so we wouldn't have to move forward with attorney's fees, but that didn't happen. We went out, we really pushed to try to see if there was any way we could resolve it, but there was no way that was going to be resolved. So, yeah.
I don't know how much detail you can go into,
Yeah.
this is a pending court case, but
Yeah.
just, we can clarify a little bit if you want to, but also like, do similar issues come up with the other municipalities, and just for some reason, or this is something you need?
And we haven't had it come up, and I have to say, I also checked with all the other Register of Deeds with it, and to get their position, and they agreed with, me, that they wouldn't accept it. So we haven't had it really, we haven't had this issue come up. It's been kind of, it's kind of been a little bit surprising that this.
Say
has been
the
an issue.
individual that you'll be going against doesn't have a good track record in court.
Right.
Well, that's encouraging. It's encouraging for us.
Rochester.
And the sad part is, and I'll say more than Kathy might not be able to, is we're talking about 3 words. He would just have to add 3 words to a document. That's all we were asking. And Kathy felt those words needed to be in. It's insane. George McGlaris went up to speak to the city manager to try and resolve this, and we got nowhere. In fact, if anything, their offer to settle was worse than the original suit.
It was actually insulting, so I just couldn't go.
It was
insulting.
It was
and-
embarrassing.
All the law, that's all.
Right, so all the law, and I know that we have documents that come through where the staff misses something. But when it's brought to our attention and we see that it needs to be there, we can't just ignore it. So I think that was part of the argument. It's that, but I think there was only 2 or 3 in the past, 1.5 years that happened, where they got through, not to get into too much detail. And that was, we're training people, will make this human error, but when it's brought to our attention, but again.
That stuff could be resolved without.
It's
going
very
to
much
court.
resolved.
Sir, we agree with you 1,000%.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that we need to discuss this much more.
Right, no, I
No,
don't think
but it's an issue that we notified the delegation about. That's the point we're trying to
Be
make.
aware of it, and,
Right, and that's all.
And then the
I
matter will
wanted to do.
take care of itself.
Right, and that's all I wanted to do, is to make everyone aware of that,
Right.
so, are there any specific questions that you have for me?
You can see the budget has gone down about $32,000.
Yeah, part of that was, the staff, we had someone retire who was long-term. A lot of that was that, and then we're able to keep the contract with Fiddler pretty much as it is. And the document count has gone down, so I tried to reflect that in the data processing so that we weren't, I reduced the number of documents, because I don't anticipate we're gonna have There obviously is many documents, and we're more to the 2018 levels, really.
People are buying and selling less real estate than in the past.
Well, the inventory is very low
It is.
too. I mean, that's part of the problem. And then, I mean, we're hoping the mortgage rates will go down, but I mean, that's not gonna affect the.
Well, there might be,
Refinancing,
there
maybe.
might be some more refinancing for people that have bought in the last year if the rates
Right.
drop.
Yeah.
But,
Hopefully, but with the budget deficit, I don't know. Let's see what happens. I don't think it's gonna go below 6.
You get a percentage on
That's
that,
definitely not.
but the amount of sales is down.
yes, sir.
The percentage is up because of the cost of the homes.
Yeah, but the bulk of that, of a new sale, the bulk,
Mhm.
96% of it goes to the state. We get 4% of it.
Only 4%. I think we got about, I have the number roughly, what we had for the 4% that it's like 500 and something thousand that we, 586 roughly
For new,
from our
for
4% of
sales.
revenue. The 4% part from the, I'll chip in the transfer tax, yeah, for the sales, yeah.
The state gets the 96%.
Yeah.
Yes,
So essentially, we're moving on with trying to get the historical indexing, get everything, and my goal is to get everything online, to have it all scanned and have it online, hopefully within a year.
Yeah.
You know, I keep hoping that we'll
So-
get that done.
So the person who's doing the scanning, is he also able to do other tasks in the office
Yes.
when that? So basically, the fact that there's that scanning available to be done can keep your staff a little bit steadier.
Oh, we have so much to do. Not only that, I mean, we're going back to old indexing. There's always things to do, old plans, making sure that they're indexed properly. Rescanning old plans. It's nonstop. There's a lot of work.
So even though you don't have as much
Yeah.
business coming in
Right.
from, documents that need to be processed for sales, there's a lot to do.
There's a lot.
But which is good because you have, when the market picks up again, you won't need to then go out and rehire a bunch of people.
Right,
Yes.
right. And we have less than when I started. I mean, we used to have 7 full time and now we're at 6 plus a part-time. So we eliminated 1 staff member. So I am hoping though that Tom, who will be, I anticipate retiring at the end of April, and who's doing some of the scanning, might be able to come back and, continue doing it for even just 4 or 5 hours a week, to continue that. It's a lot more cost effective than hiring another company to come in or something to do that. So,
There's this number here in our thing. Income generated for these Stratford County through November 2023 was 1,006,921. How much?
right
You
now,
know the numbers income from September yet? Or-
yes, so we're at, I think it was 1,091,028.
So it's about 1.1 million was
Yeah.
generated in total for.
Yes.
So we had about another 86,000 that came in for December.
Okay, great.
In addition, yeah, still below,
Yes.
yeah.
Oh. We'll tell everybody we go to find and sell as much real estate and refinance as much as you can to help you out.
Yeah, that'd be nice. So easy.
We're making a pretty good profit anyway, like just, the bottom line, how much
Oh,
we're spending, how much we're taking.
That's right, and you're looking at about another 40% of what we're,
So it's good business for the tax.
but still, it's still a service that we have to provide.
Exactly,
so.
yes.
Will this affect the deeds, like say all this apartment building in the
Mhm.
area? Seem like something like that's not gonna change hands a lot. So
No.
Once
You
it's
have that in-
sold, somebody would own it and rent it for years,
Right.
whereas homes would probably change
Yeah,
more.
the problem is it's not a lot of land to build the home, so you're not, that's part of the issue too, but you're absolutely right. I mean, when you're buying an apartment building, you have that first initial big
Right.
buyout and a good transfer tax typically, but then after, it'll,
Hmm.
but there's other advantages to that too, for the local tax, but, right, as far as we're concerned, you're absolutely right. Yeah.
Just thinking about it again.
Yeah. Well, thank you. If you don't, any other things that I could clarify? Okay, thanks very much. Right, have a good day. Thank you. I don't think I'm Thanks, Ray. Bigger.
Welcome. Say hi to your husband.
Oh, yeah.
And you.
I'll see you this afternoon. Yeah. Thank you. Excuse me. Sorry.
We missed seeing your dad in Concord.
Oh, yeah.
Is he okay?
He misses it, I'll tell you, he really misses it,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
but I don't know if everyone misses it, but you're fine, thank you. Bye.
Well, all right, so if we move on, well, we did some of what we were gonna do at 10:40, so it's 11:15.
So was, I think we skipped over administration.
Yeah.
Pretty much, yes.
Yeah, the commissioners, so we can go to that.
So should we do that or go back to what we were talking about before?
Well, we also do, I think the Medicaid, which is a very large amount of money.
Well, that's an easy one.
What we can do about it.
Concord sets the rate. You guys determine the rate, and we pay our share. That it's adjusted every year, based on the average of the prior 3 years. So it's adjusted between the 10 counties, which we don't have our current adjustment, but I level funded it because you level funded it in Concord.
Yeah.
And I level funded it at what we were paying for the last 6 months of last year, because it's a fixed amount. We pay the fixed amount per month. The only thing I don't know, and I won't know till June, is what if Stratford County share has changed. Because like I said, when this was negotiated by George McGlaris a number of years ago, we didn't opt to change it every year because we didn't want any one county to get a large impact. If for some reason there was a large number of, say, a new nursing home open somewhere that didn't exist before, and that county or that entity would get a large number of Medicaid people that could come from anywhere. We did it on the average of 3 years instead of, 1 year. So I don't know what our 3-year average is going to be. I've estimated this to be the right amount of money. It's obviously the one largest uncompensated line item in the budget, which is, again, this is the non-federal share of long-term and home-based Medicaid for anyone that lived in Stratford County prior to going into a nursing home.
So, basically, the federal government pays a certain amount
Half.
on to the state, and well, there's a sum of the costs of Medicaid that the state has. The federal government, because of our income demographics, pays half, and then the state is responsible for coming up with the other half, and the state has chosen to put that on the county taxpayers.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Basically,
and then the county gets paid a certain amount to cover from Medicaid to cover the costs of those patients or those residents, but then the county has to pay back to the state that the state portion of the whole thing.
Right, and no matter what nursing home you're in.
Yeah.
If your last permanent residence, last independent living residence was Stratford County, you could be in Hillsborough County, and that does happen. Okay, it happens where Sally Smith lived in Dover, but Sally Smith's family's in Manchester. So they'll approach Hillsborough County Nursing Home to bring Sally Smith there. So how the state equalizes that is it goes by where your last independent residence is the county that becomes responsible.
Okay.
how far back did you look at it? Like, what if Sally moved in with her daughter in Manchester?
The state the people from Medicaid look at it very carefully. And if she moved in with her daughter, it would be where the daughter lived, because that would be her residence.
So there's anything like durational residency where like if she, say if she stays with her daughter for 1 week and they discover.
No, you know, they're gonna look at the time period that's involved.
Yeah.
So if a resident of Massachusetts has family in New Hampshire, and when that person can't live on their own in Massachusetts and doesn't have the financial means, and they move into a facility in New Hampshire and are on Medicaid, does that get charged to Massachusetts? Okay, it gets charged to whatever county they end up in?
Yes.
Okay.
And that, but they have to show, it's based on the definition of residency that exists in the state law. It's not, you also have to remember Medicaid is a national system. It's not New Hampshire Medicaid. It's the federal Medicaid. So the feds develop the rules, the basic rules that Medicaid operates under. Now, there's some nuances between the states, but it's not a tremendous nuance, and the feds need to approve every nuance. So, there's the fact that somebody could leave New Hampshire and move to Massachusetts is, the same concept as somebody from Massachusetts moving to New Hampshire.
Right.
So the feds figure it's a federal program. You need to live with it.
Right, and then the question about the county of last residence in New Hampshire is a New Hampshire way of trying to balance it.
Correct. It's the New Hampshire way of trying to determine how to split it between the 10 counties.
Yeah, so we're.
Yes, sir, that's exactly right.
Just basically, we're paying for this out of the property taxes along.
Yes, sir, that's 100% correct.
Instead of any other source of revenue the state might have.
That's correct, sir.
I guess we backtrack to the administration, which we could talk about some of this stuff. Recognize Mr. Ballard again.
Yeah, this budget has gone up, a couple of percent. And primarily it's up and down. A little bit of it is, you see it's gone up $2,300 of a $603,000 budget, which includes salaries of the four people that work in this office. I was cutting somebody out. I'm not gonna say who. So it includes Janet, Diane, and the two ladies that work in the back office, which also is our personnel office. And they process payroll and payables for the county, and Diane is our chief financial officer. Also unique to Stratford County, does our Medicaid and Medicare cost reports that get reported to the state. Most entities hire out for that service. Diane, a number of years ago, took on that service. Saves us probably $20,000 or more dollars. And helps us file on time. Because what happens is, in order to file your Medicaid cost report, you need your audit to be done, because those numbers need to tie together. And when you use separate entities for that, one entity can't start on the cost report until the audit's done. So, and the cost report's got to be submitted by April 1st, even though it sits on somebody's desk at the state for a year. We just got the results of our 2022 audit, our 2022 Medicaid cost report. We just got our results this week for our 2022 cost report. So when our Medicaid rate is determined for the operation of the nursing home, they include an inflation factor for the year in which they don't audit, and they haven't audited. So our current rates are based on 2022 cost report plus an inflation, a medical inflation rate for 2023.
And the first two items are the county commissioner, county treasurer. We set.
So you set that at yeah.
We did this recently again.
And you're gonna be asked to do it again shortly.
Yeah.
Friday.
Yeah. And
And
the,
then those committee members will be asked to do it on Friday.
Is there a, next Friday, is there a executive committee?
No, that's the subcommittee for the policies and procedures one, and the executive committee meeting is set for March first.
Okay.
And at the executive committee, you'll get the recommendation from this Policies and Procedures Committee, and then that'll go to the full delegation.
Okay,
So there's a couple more processes.
but I don't need to be there for that, because I'm not on that committee.
No, sir.
although we can make a cameo.
So I'm happy to answer any questions on that.
I know the support staff, we're getting very good value for money from our support staff. You're getting like very. I was like impressed by,
We're,
what good service you're getting for.
we're considering, Rockingham County has 17 people in their finance department, and Diane is a finance department of 1. I think we're doing just fine. Poor Diana, she can never, I swear she never gets any time off when I don't call her. You know, and she's always so pleasant. When I call her, I probably call her 2 nights a week, you know, cause I'm working on stuff at home, and I have to stop if I don't have an answer to a question, so I probably call her a couple nights a week, and also, she's been really good about taking my calls when she's on vacation also.
That's a theme. You called him on vacation.
Oh, yeah, I don't care.
I tend to call him on my way into work, because at 11 o'clock at night, I think of something that I needed to share with him, and we'll talk it out as I'm driving into work before he gets too involved with his day,
I'll be
so.
thankful you don't call him at 11.
I try not to do that,
It
no.
wouldn't matter. I'm
Yeah.
a midnight to 6 a.m. guy,
Yeah.
so I don't care, cause I call the nursing home every night at 11 o'clock. I've never missed a call in 36 years. To get report from second shift. That's when we change shifts, but I talk to the supervisor every night at 11:05, you know, somewhere in there to find out what's happened on that particular shift. I learned that a long time ago, that it's better to know. There's a lot of times I know these families, and I know what their expectations are that might be different than other families. So I can suggest to them that they do certain things that I might know about, that they might not be aware of, just because of different positions at the facility. So I call every night at 11. Plus, we have a system of where they text during certain key events. So I probably get 10 or 15 texts a week. And I get about a dozen calls from the nursing home, which could be any time from when I go home around 5 till all throughout the night.
Well, you probably have some residents who don't follow the same circadian rhythms as everybody.
I have a lot of residents who who've lost their circadian rhythm, you know, who stay up all night. And sleep during the day, and because I just use, you know, layman's terms, their biological clock screwed up,
Yeah.
you know, and they don't sleep during regular hours, and it becomes a challenge, because, you know, you have to alter their meals and their medication distribution based on their sleep schedule, because in the old days, 30 years ago, you know, you'd encourage residents to, you'd actually, even in some cases, medicate residents to follow a standard sleep schedule. That does not happen. That's not individualized care, which is what happens in nursing homes now. Is that we cater to their schedule. They don't cater to our schedule.
And
So
one of the reasons maybe why we had to have one window in every patient room with the view of the outside, so the
it's,
sun will at least like.
Yeah, it's all. Yeah, I'm not sure that was the real reason, but I think that it's the opportunity to gain fresh air during the pleasant weather, but in any case, it's just the way it is.
Any bills have any questions about this?
Maintenance?
Yeah.
Our, Doug Kane, is our new maintenance director. Jim Gagne, after a whole bunch of years, is retired. So this is Doug's first shot at filling you all in on what's going on with maintenance here. And he also obviously is in charge of maintenance, excuse me, at the nursing home and the jail.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us here. I realize it's not an optimal day outside for weather. As Ray said, my name is Douglas Kane. I'm the new maintenance director here for Stratford County. I've been in this position since December of 2022. I've taken on this role coming from a background of being a small business owner, several small businesses, as Representative Sinich was saying. So I understand the value of a dollar. My background is as a machinist and as a automotive technician and as a telephone repairman. Those are my three skills.
Yeah.
So in those fields, I've learned just about everything from construction to electrical, to plumbing, to just about everything. I also am a bit of a unicorn, as I have a social services degree that I'm pursuing. So I understand nursing and I understand the needs of the folks that we serve, especially the most vulnerable people in the entire county, in Riverside Rest Home and in the jail as well. My mission here, as taking on the role, and my vision for our maintenance department and the money that you allow us to spend, is that I make sure every single dime that you approve goes towards those people. The people that Coast serves, the people that the Child Advocacy Center serves, the people that Riverside serve, the people that the jail serves. These folks need this money spent wisely, and I make sure that we take care of every dime. If we could all look at in the green book, the 5150 Riverside Maintenance, I'd like to point out a couple things.
This one's courthouse.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We're just gonna stick with the courthouse.
Sure, let's do that.
We'll do Riverside this afternoon.
Oh, yeah, I can wait. All right. Looking at our line items quickly, I'm asking for a modest increase, roughly around $35,000 out of $578,000. The biggest increases I'm looking for is a $4,000 increase in building and equipment repairs. I will tell you, like I will say this afternoon, that the biggest problem I'm having right now is the quality of the water that the city of Dover is providing to this facility. These facilities are all at least 50 years old, with the exception of Hyder. And the materials that were used 50 years ago have lasted 50 years, but they are coming to an end. Things like tempering valves, brass, anything that's not exercised regularly is corroding in place and needing to be repaired. We also have some plumbing challenges with new code and things like that. So I think that small amount of increase should make us be able to maintain the facility going forward. In our maintenance personnel, we have one position for a technician, and we have a bit of money for some lawn crew help outside, which last year was a challenge for us. I'm asking for an increase in overtime for two reasons. Snow removal. Snow removal has been a big problem. I need somebody here early, and which is out of hours, and we need to pay overtime. The second reason for the overtime increase is that any repairs that I send my technicians over here to perform need to be performed outside of court hours. We cannot disturb the court. So that means after 5 o'clock or on the weekends, which is all overtime rates. Modest increase there, and some of our personnel from across the street end up coming over to assist in some of the functions. My vision, again, is to utilize the people that we have. I have 13 of the most wonderful, skilled maintenance technicians who will do anything that is required.
It's the best crew we've ever had.
I am blessed, and really the residents that are here, and again, the people that we serve, I think really are being served quite well. We have people who have backgrounds in skilled trades. We have an electrician on staff. We have a plumber on staff. We have a painter on staff. People who have done this their entire lives, and they really understand what I'm trying to tell them when I say it's the residents first. It's the folks that are in the jail first. It's the folks that are in Hyder first, and it's the folks that are here to get services from the county who need to be put as a priority. I have electricity. Electricity amount that I'm asking for is my best guess projected based on usage. Several years ago, we had an LED upgrade to the rest home, which was a partnership with an electrical company, and it paid for itself within the first year. We've seen about a 50% reduction in Riverside. Around here, slowly, where as we can, when something burns out, it's replaced by LED, which we find a 50% decrease in the usage of electricity, which is huge. It's massive.
The reason it's gone up is we lost our 3-year bid. It expired, so we had to go out to bid again.
Sure.
And of course, we're bidding at current rates.
Right.
So we really didn't have a, that's the primary reason.
Right.
Although it's not increased as much as the bid increased because, we've had these other savings. So, but we didn't, we went out for a competitive bid because our bid ended December 31st. Actually, it ended January 31st technically.
Right.
And so that's the amount of the new bid.
Yeah.
So who's the winning bidder who's your supplier now?
It just changed February 1st. I have to remember.
We had Nextera and now we have,
We haven't gotten our first bill yet.
exactly, yeah, whatever's on my letterhead there.
I'll get you the name in
Okay.
shortly.
Yeah, I'll have it for this afternoon. So yes, the other reason that I'm going with LEDs going forward is as an old building, it has limited electrical capacity. And upgrades right now to electrical are extremely expensive. The equipment to buy it is, on intergalactic back order, and to order larger breaker panels and larger power stations takes forever. So I think anything we can do on this end inexpensively to reduce the electricity usage will help us going forward with that, should we need to provide more power to any of the other services that utilize this building.
And it just makes sense to make things as efficient as possible.
I treat it as if it's my own wallet. Yeah, I take it that seriously.
We got the natural gas, which is heat only, so how is that supplied to us, or where do we get it from?
Well, the nice part about the convenient part about the negotiation that I did for natural gas, it was a multi-level negotiation. Across the river is Brock's. So they brought the natural gas down to them. Then we negotiated with Unitil to bring it here. And simultaneous with that, I negotiated with the city because they were building the walking bridge across the Cachiko. And I negotiated an easement for them to bring the sewer line where they were treating the leachate from the Toland Road landfill. So the other option would have been to dig down below the Cachiko and come up the other side, which of course would have required, a force main for the sewer. So they built the walking bridge. I gave them the easement. They let me use when I say me, I'm talking about the county, obviously. They let me use the walking bridge to attach our gas line to the bottom of the walking bridge. And that brought natural gas to the county complex. So it was kind of like a multi-level deal that was cut that, Brock's was a big help because it brought the gas all the way down that road. So then we could pick it up from there.
Yeah, so with the electricity, I assume that we get the transmission and the distribution from Eversource, and then the supplier is independent market.
It's exactly
That is
correct.
correct. And same thing with natural gas.
Once Dover has the community power fully in place, will that be an option?
It would be an option. That's why we didn't go for a long time with our new contract. We went out because of the economics of it. We went out 18 months. It was cheaper to go out 18 months than it was for a year.
Yeah.
And it was cheaper to go out 18 months than it was to go out for 2 years or 3 years, all of which we got bid prices on. But we thought the 18 months just seemed reasonable, but we can jump when Dover, if Dover makes an equitable move for us, we'd be happy to jump.
Sure. Yes, the natural gas is supplied currently by Sprague and delivered by Unitil to the county. The last item I see a sizable increase in is our new equipment. The equipment that's here, especially for grounds maintenance, is coming to an end. I see a use in buying battery powered weed whackers going forward instead of buying gasoline powered ones for two reasons. Gasoline is dangerous to store and it is expensive to store legally because we have people sleeping 24/7 across the street. It's an above and beyond requirement, and we can save money on that just fine. And there's also some hand tools and other things to accomplish the plumbing repairs that we want to make over here that I'm asking for. And any other questions?
Yeah, when you say there's an increase in snow plowing,
Mhm.
are you, like this year, we really didn't get too much, how would that work?
The season's not over, and we also have November and December to think about. I'm not a weather forecaster, but if I don't have that money in there and I need crews on here, I'm not sure what the exact amount is of a lawsuit for falling on the ice outside here from a member of the public, but I want to make sure that this pavement is absolutely clear of any obstructions. We have people coming in this building who are non-ambulatory constantly, and handicapped access is a big issue for me.
But that's been going on right
Sure.
along, it's not like something new.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Except
yeah,
lawsuits are a little more
Absolutely.
common every year.
In the past, Representative, in the past, we had one person here, starting at 3 o'clock in the morning, beginning the treatment of the facility. Now we have people from Riverside, actually my Riverside crew coming over, and I need to pay for those guys because 2 plow truck drivers can accomplish it much quicker.
Yeah.
I'm not sure day to day what the court schedule is, and we just found out earlier this week that they're not sure how much snow we're ever gonna get. When they say a foot, it turns out to be 0. And it also, I think, works in reverse.
Yeah.
So I think a surprise storm would require me to bring people in
Imagine how we're gonna
unnoticed.
figure out climate change.
Yeah, I'm concerned about tomorrow.
I have one other question,
Yes,
too.
sir.
When you were saying about the overtime, having to come in the building when court wasn't in session, I mean,
Correct.
is that something new too? or-
No, I realized that this year, this is another thing I discovered this year, is that the court entities that are in this building are tenants of the
Yes,
court
exactly.
system, and there's a revenue stream that needs to be guaranteed, it needs to be taken care of. So that's another piece of the puzzle. I need to make sure that they don't say, you know, those guys out there at Riverside, they really don't take great care of the courthouse. I think we can do much better downtown or a different location. I had heard recently, within the past few years, that their threshold for thinking about building their own court facility is around $500,000. And do they, if I'm correct, they bring in over 800?
No, over 600.
Over 600, okay, so we're pretty close, and I wanna make sure that they're comfortable, I wanna make sure that they're dry, I wanna make sure that the parking lot is accessible. And that they feel comfortable that this is the place that they wanna be moving forward.
Because they can and sometimes do build their own facilities.
Sure.
Well, they have in Rockingham County has their own facility, Carroll County has their own facility. I just don't want to do anything to tempt them because I don't know what we would do, you know, without them. I don't know how we would renovate, you know, those tall ceilings and everything else that's up there. You know, that was apparently essential 50+ years ago when this building was built, would make it a nightmare to convert to something. Plus, we're off the beaten path. You know, we're not necessarily an attractive place location wise. I mean, the court doesn't seem to mind it, but you know, it might not be something that we could attract alternative tenants to.
Plus a crowd of people in the little probate courtroom, which is. obviously no-
Well, plus, I think because the court's here, probation and parole's here.
Sure.
You know, and there's another rent payer. And, you know, it also conveniences, obviously, the operations of our community corrections. The fact that they don't have to drive somewhere to, you know, we don't have to pay transportation, they can, you know, walk upstairs for their court hearings and things like that. So, you know, there's a lot of, and not only is there rent paid to us from these entities, there is, the sheriff's department is another, obviously, an example. There's a lot of nuances and anecdotal information that shows the value of having the court in this building.
Sure. And going forward, Representative, another portion of this is, the building is 50 years old and beginning to show its age in many places. You know, we had an insurance, covered incident back in July with the basement where a timely leak had completely failed and flooded, community corrections. So we had to do asbestos abatement, we had to do drywall, we had to basically renovate the entire office. It was covered by insurance, but there are several more of those that I see happening in the building, and I'd like to get ahead of those ahead of time. And unfortunately, they're in court used areas right now, which I can't send somebody into Monday through Friday. So I'd like to get those taken care of immediately, so we don't have a disaster in the forward, saving us money going forward, saving the insurance company and on our rates going forward. A lot of this, also keep in mind, I don't think you'll see these amounts that I'm asking for next year. This is a one-time shot. I'm gonna take care of this stuff and we're gonna get it so it's back to an affordable, you know, usable building.
Gotcha.
Anybody else have any questions about this?
All right. Thank you so much for coming again, and I realize that, that Ray and the commissioners, give me great support to do the stuff that we do, and I appreciate that, you guys ask pointed questions which show me you are interesting and interested. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Well, it looked great. Of course, now it's gotten old enough to now it's an historical architectural style.
I happen to feel that this is a beautiful building.
Okay, good.
So,
We'll see you this afternoon.
thanks so much. I appreciate it.
And,
So the next one's the court jester. In this year, it's budgeted to lose some money. We are gonna make some adjustment in the, we will make some adjustments in the, because our food costs have gone up. We'll make some adjustments in the, what we pay for, but honestly speaking, it's primarily here to serve the court when they have jury trials, and it saves at least 45 minutes a day every time there's a jury trial here, because they can get the orders. We have order slips, and we don't have to depend on getting them from anywhere in the downtown, or the court doesn't have to depend on it. Then figure out how to have it delivered. It's a real advantage. It's an advantage for the sheriff's department, too, because if the jury leaves to go, then the sheriff has to go with them. Because that's they want to make sure they're not influenced during, time, so it saves the sheriff's department, who can simply send a bailiff down to supervise them ordering lunch, and then supervise them returning upstairs to the jury room to eat it. That's a big thing, and it does, to an extent, service the employees that are here, which helps us pay the cost of the, for its operation. So we have tried to privatize it in the past, 3 times in my tenure here, and it was a failure. It just didn't, the person just couldn't make it work financially. So we for the last several years, we've continued to operate it with county employees.
especially bringing food to the grand juries, and even the fact there is a jury is confidential.
And it's a really, it would be a real difficult situation for the sheriff's department, to transport people somewhere and let them pick their food and then transport it back.
It takes like half the day.
Yeah, I say 45 minutes, but I think that's probably a little, that's a little, I think it would be longer than that, which elongates the jury trials, which, creates a real mess. So I know that one of the largest complaints in Rockingham County is that they only have vending machines there, at their court. So I think that, is provided some new respect for our courthouse, because we have the ability for them to get a reasonable lunch.
And just the process of entering and leaving the building can be complicated.
For sure, because everybody'd have to be re-screened.
Building makes it really.
Jurors don't they have their own entrance, is their own procedure for entering it?
But they're still screened.
Yes.
Yeah, they still have to be screened.
When you guys provide dinner, say like to the delegation of reps, what does something like that cost, like that steak tips dinner that was
Probably about
very
$4 a person. I would say $4 a person, $4 to $5 a person is the cost. That'll give you an idea of when you go out and order steak tips and they're $12 or $13, that'll give you the idea.
over 13.
Yeah, well, that'll give you the idea of
You got some credit slips showing a lot more than that.
yeah. So we're happy with the, we can buy the other advantage that we have, Representative Kaczynski, is the fact that we don't have to pay tax, the state tax
Yeah.
on rooms and meals.
8.5.
We don't have to pay it. Because we're a government entity running that. So, that helps a little bit too, and helps the court too, because they don't have to pay it if they were using a downtown business.
And the food is purchased in bulk, you know.
Well,
alongside-
it gets the advantage of the Riverside / jail purchasing power. So the fact that we spend, you know, a couple of $1 million for food or more between the two entities is an advantage here at the courthouse, because it's bought under the same umbrella.
Okay, great, thanks. Covers that, so Rachel, we gone through it,
Well, we still have some things to cover on the item that's at 12:20, which we talked about interest on temporary loans. I want to talk about general health insurance. I'll make this story very brief. It started at 18% and we settled at 3.02.
oh, that's good.
We threatened them with going self-funded, which I have been self-funded before. I'm experienced with administering. Poor Diane and I are experienced in doing that. But there's real jeopardy in self-funding. I mean, yes, you can buy co-insurances, reinsurances to protect you against major claims, but they didn't want to lose our business.
Yeah.
So we got them down to 3.02%. Which I think it's less than what they call trend. Trend is the simple increases that insurance companies pay doctors, hospitals. Trend this year was about 8%. And the fact that we got it at 3.02 made us very happy.
Oh, yes, thank you for that, good negotiation.
Well, I wish I could claim all the credit for it. I mean, we do use an entity, but and the commissioners, I convinced the commissioners to develop a 2-letter word. No. No, we're not gonna accept 8%. No, we're not gonna accept 5%. So internally, we agreed that we would accept 3%. When they came in at 3.02, we said, okay.
Hold on,
And
what
it
was
may-
the original, what was the
18.
original? That's quite a difference. There
It
must be a lot of profit margin in that.
Well, I mean, that was our argument, Representative, that was our argument. And what we did is force them to look back at the profit they made from us over the last 5 years. Cause everybody thought COVID actually made for shrinking health insurance costs. Didn't make for increased health insurance costs, cause so many surgeries, which might be considered elective, weren't done. Because the hospitals just weren't doing them. So we went back with information that we found through discovery with them of what they made from us over the last 5 years and said, hey, wait a minute, you guys have made good money from us. This is our turn to get it back. So we settled at 3.02.
I'd like to see negotiations like that.
Well, it wasn't easy and it wasn't, but we made it work.
Yeah.
We made it work and we were pretty happy about 3.02.
It definitely makes you question the initial
Well,
increase.
Where
it comes from.
when I finally, I said, that this is insulting. It's insulting that you would go from 18 to 3% because it means you were trying to take advantage of us with your first offer. And so when I was talking to the vice president of Anthem for New Hampshire, I said that. I said, your original offers was insulting considering where we are now. You were just trying to take advantage of us and we've been good customers. It's not right. And fortunately, we ended up with the 3.02.
Good work.
Good.
So I'm happy with that. The county convention, it's about the same $10,000 that we have every year. This year, of course, you'll have at least one extra meeting when the delegation meets to organize.
Yeah.
So you'll have that meeting after the election. which only happens every other year. It's a little higher this year because we had so many meetings on the nursing home, so it was a little overspent, but I didn't raise the amount really because I don't believe that, we'll have those kinds of meetings, but you would definitely have the organizational meeting.
Yeah.
So, that was that. Contingency, we always leave really just to keep the line item open, at $5,000. That money can't be spent without permission of the executive committee. So that money's approved, but it's frozen. And then there's now for the J&A capital expenses, there is a number of capital expenses that have been put in, but I came up with the idea, and the commissioners blessed the idea on the capital expenses of paying for the capital expenses out of the opioid trust fund settlement. Is primarily how Diane and I have discussed it in our heads. Remember, we got the $1.4 million that we haven't quite gotten yet, but has been approved by everybody needs to approve it on the state level. We would basically utilize that amount of money to offset all our capital expenses for both the courthouse and for the nursing home and then the non-nursing home. So there is some some fairly hefty capital expenses. Our front end loader is 25 years old. And now these are estimates, all these things will go out to bid. But there's no direct impact on the tax rate for any of those larger capital expenses. We're paying for them again out of the opioid trust fund settlement, or the back amounts that we're getting for 2021 and 22.
Okay, so that's money that will go into that undetermined fund, and then you'll draw off it.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay,
I mean, that's the sum and substance of how it works.
Yeah. So basically, just in terms of the pattern of use of that unexpended or undetermined fund is that when money comes into it greater than that money then gets put into a future budget to pay the expenses without.
Right, but let me be really clear. Utilizing fund balance, okay, is utilizing fund balance for operational costs is a nightmare. Because you start the next year that much in the hole.
Okay.
So I would only recommend at the level of our fund balance being just over the minimum that is suggested.
Right.
Of using it only for one-time expenses.
Okay.
In other words, I would never suggest using fund balance unless you had like some super amount of fund balance, like if some reason we had 20% fund balance or
So
something.
you wouldn't use it for personnel.
Never.
But you'd use it for a new front end loader.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly, because we won't need a new front end loader next year.
Yeah.
And we have not used unassigned fund balance. It's probably been 20 years since we've used.
Okay.
Yeah,
This is the first time we've put that into the budget in probably 20 years.
But this helps us stay within the tax caps.
Right.
By using it this way. There's a number of items here and there's a number of items at Riverside, that are funded for that purpose, and it's designated in the budget.
Yeah.
It's clear what's for what. And it isn't for small items. Small items we take out of the operating budget. Something that's like, $10,000 or less, we wouldn't take out of this. We're talking here about larger capital items.
So again, the county attorney needs to buy a new refrigerator.
Yeah, that's one of the, but that's out of an operating budget. That's not out of, that would be just out of operating. The larger things come out of, the capital stuff.
biggest one was placing something called an RTU and telepack at the jail. I'm not sure, never even heard of such a thing, but I guess it's.
There's backup in here
Oh,
that
yeah,
talks
there's
about it.
plenty of information about it.
Yeah, there's plenty of information there about it.
I just.
We just have to abbreviate it because we can't fit it on the page,
Yeah.
you know, in the budget book. So but we provide the backup for it. And again, these are best estimates. You'll see the estimates in there. All of those items have to go out to bid. You know, and they would go out to bid, at the time in which we sought to implement the items. Obviously, we're not gonna implement any of these items till we get our money.
Yeah.
But, you know, which we estimate probably would coincide with right around the time the budget's approved. You know, hopefully we get that money by then.
Excuse me, I'm sorry to interrupt. Wait, can you give Jen and Lieutenant Collins emergency?
I will. We're almost done.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Steve.
Like we've gone through the whole figure here and maybe also any more questions or comments on it, or we don't have a forum, but we can still make a recommendation to the executive committee, so.
So you're saying this isn't a separate capital improvement, capital appropriation and for these items?
There won't be any bond for it or anything. It'll be paid using that 1.4 million that we're getting in from the state for past expenses.
That opioid money is?
That's correct.
And that's okay to use that?
Oh, sure. It's reimbursement for money that the county has spent in 2021 and 22.
I know somebody's different.
No, this is,
Things have strings.
no strings on it.
And that was a question we asked, because oftentimes the money that you get is tied into something very specific, and we were told it's a reimbursement for something we've already spent, and this is.
Okay.
But that's a great question, because a lot of times there's strings, but there's no
Most of
strings
it.
on this.
I think this is one of the few that.
Yeah,
That
there's
there
not a
isn't.
string.
I guess I'll need a motion and a second to approve the commissioner's recommendations and I'll pass those on to the executive committee.
I'll make the motion.
Sure, go ahead, Reverend Bickford.
I move to approve.
You seconded Reverend Rich, okay, good.
We need a roll call or?
No, just you show of hands.
This is to
Pass
pass this to the committee.
To the executive
Pass
committee.
this to the executive
Yeah.
committee saying that we looked at it and it's good.
You're welcome to vote no if you want.
Well, I didn't realize we were having a vote on that.
Okay. So at least three ayes, so you and I are knowing that, Reverend Kaczynski.
What's that?
So are you a yes vote?
Abstain or what?
I just had a couple questions. I thought we were gonna be, reviewing this over.
We'll take them to the executive committee again, or you can ask the questions now, it's bigger.
Yeah.
Mr. Bowers apparently has to go, so.
Yeah, apparently I have an emergency at the nursing home.
Oh, geez, that happens occasionally, I'm sure.
More than I'd like.
Yeah. All right, then.
All right, well, thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you.
Or,
Ray,
manager.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ray.
thank you.
Especially the gentleman, the sheriff's office, like, I was afraid there's some specific issue we were gonna have to address.
Thanks for having us, and we'll be back at one for next session.
Oh, yeah, well, we'll be fine.
Thank you very much.
Later.
Great job, guys.
Well, thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, so next meeting is adjourned or recessed to the call of the chair. I don't know.
Okay.
Although we've never had that. I've done this several years and we've never actually had that an additional meeting and what I remember, but in the case we did.
Are these our books we take?
Yeah, I guess we can take these.
Yes, you can send that. I ran out of time to put the labels on each of the.
Oh, that's fine.
No, that's all right. I just, well, I saw the tour. I didn't know because I wanted to.
Yeah.
Really didn't. I figured it was screen used, but that's.
I keep it printed out.
All right, so if I leave this here, does it get reused?
Those
Okay.
binders
Uh-huh.
have been reused time and time again, that's why they're not in perfect condition,
Okay.
so.
Okay, well, this one had at least another round in it, so I can
Yeah,
leave it here.
I can't remember where they came from. Where did they come from?
Some of them have been in that probably before I started, some came from maintenance, and they were cleaning out their some older stuff that they threw away, they gave us a bunch of blankets.
Oh, I'm thinking of. It's where my house.
So you want the binders back?
You can take them,
These are very old binders.
they are very old, some
I
of
see.
them are barely together, but.
And there is other information that, that's been left from the
Yeah,
agencies as well.
Cooperative extension.
Yeah.
I think I already got one of those.
Funny when it goes stuff, there's so much paper.
Oh, I know, yeah, I will have,
There's these items from Post as well.
oh, you did a double.
Tim, do you want
The 2 pages, yeah, it's still like 50.
Yeah, I tried to double.
Here's the
check
goodies
it,
for
and
co-op
it's-
extension.
Some of them messed them all up,
Yeah.
so I gave up on it.
The coach page. the thing.
Right.
It's all in there.
Yeah, when it's like all black on one side, it's slid through the other, I was like, oh, no, I give up.
And each of your senators are on annual report. if they like.
It did, yes, and well, that's been part of the contract.
However you want to do it. This one is, another one will begin at, so whatever.
Trying to record, so I would. We'll fill this one.
Okay, because it's gonna just repair.
Well, thank you for.